Morning. Tried to get Tim Reynolds, who was at the Tiger Rory presser yesterday, and he said, "David, I'm never going to do radio." I said, "I could have swore I saw on Twitter you did a radio interview last week. That's why I asked you." So that sucks.
It does.
And I specifically said to him, I go, we'll just talk to you about the event yesterday. So I'm pretty sure Bob wasn't there, but by the time I got a hold of him, he was already in Mexico. I don't think he was at the event in the morning and then flew. I'm guessing he has been in Mexico all week, and then he probably flew from LA to Mexico, but he's certainly familiar with it. I kind of like that he's in Mexico. I go, good. We can talk about this then. Good morning, Johnny, Ambien, Wancho, KW, AJC. Do we? Pods are doing well? Well, thanks, Ambien. Is that daily or is that for the week?
That's probably each segment.
Oh, that's awesome.
30 seconds.
In theory, that could be sold.
Came into work, flipping the stations, and on 70s on 7, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Midnight Train from Georgia was on. Don't ruin my mood right now. I have backup singing.
Even on the Midnight Train.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It's the final Wednesday of February. Just like that. We are plowing through this thing called 2023. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, asking the question of every day, how the heck are you? Great show lined up for you today. Pat Kirwan joins us today. We'll head south of the border. Bob Harig talking a little golf. Tiger, Rory, LIV. It's on, baby. Year 2. It's on. Top of the morning to you, Mark. You're in a good mood, and I know why.
All it takes is a song, David. All it takes some mornings is a song. And I have enough time on my drive to work to give me about a song. And
One song.
And if it's good enough, I've been known to sit in the parking lot and let it finish. And as I'm bouncing around the channels this morning, Gladys Knight, Midnight Train to Georgia, right at the beginning, I could sing back up all the way through it. I could do the dance moves. I could pull the horn for the train. Everything was working.
I'm telling you, in my next life, on the short list, I want to be one of the Pips.
You and I both. If not just for the light blue tuxedos they wore in some of those 70s.
Oh, man.
Variety shows.
And those fluffy shirts also, they went with it. Man, oh, man. I don't know about you. I thought I remember you saying once that you actually knew how to tie a bow tie. I had the clip on.
Oh, no, I know how to tie a bow tie. It's
Yeah,
pretty easy, actually.
I had the clip on.
Could teach you in 30 seconds. If you can tie a shoe, you can tie a bow tie.
Well, actually, I'm not really. I mean, I can do it, but they don't stay tied very long. I'm one of those. Short, fat fingers, Mark. Kind of like a short, fat body. I mean, it's all one and the same. So, okay, I'll take your word on it. But see, I don't want to be one of those. Like, I learned how to tie ties pretty well. Going into local television, you've got to be able to nail the tie. The only thing people look at on men, hair and tie. That's it. They don't pay attention to this single thing you say. Research says they check out your tie and they check out your hair. That's it. That's it. And then maybe they'll catch, like, if you're on for a 20-second read, they might catch 5 seconds of it. Honestly. So I got pretty good at regular ties, but I wasn't in the beginning. I kind of looked like Greg Olson. Remember Greg Olson last year, early part of this year? Kind of like an unmade bed. By the end of the year, he had it figured out.
Got to get that tight knot, David.
Yes.
It's important.
Yes. And you have to stop the flop sweat, have the right makeup. Okay. Make however it is that you're doing your hair. You got to make, what we see right there on the forehead. That's got to be neat. It's got to be thrown to the side, or it's got to be straight across, however you do it. So, and Olson figured it out. But so you with your regular bow tie, okay, mine, I had a black clip on.
The bow tie came to being because they decided where we live here when I was doing sales, and it's 95 degrees with humidity to match all summer, that the important costume to wear, and I say costume, not uniform, the important costume to wear for the salespeople was a tie every day, because you're out selling sports radio, and that's such a high demand, high stressful thing. You don't want it to look fun, look appealing, or anything like that. So wear ties. So I just said I'm going to wear a bow tie every day. That's where it came from. Like, you know what? If I'm have to be the sales guy in the tie, they're going to remember, oh, yeah, that's Miller. He's the a-hole that wears the bow tie.
Because what you definitely want to be when you're walking in the parking lot up to the store, you want it to scream sales guy.
Right.
From as far away as possible. You don't just want to come in, casual khakis and a golf shirt, like everybody in Florida dresses. Okay. And if they don't dress that way, it's because they're wearing shorts with their golf shirt. Okay. You certainly don't want to dress that way. You don't want to blend in. You don't want to be one of the guys. Hi.
No, you want to scream salesman at them when you're
I'm a sales guy. I would like to sell you something. How are you today? Right. I'm with you. I just look like an unmade bed. That was my look. All right. They hired me a little before they hired you. You for whatever reason, they had to dress a certain way. I was allowed to look like the guy who just, never makes the sheet look nice on the bed. He just throws the quilt over it. Okay. And just kind of covers up most of the bed. I just straighten the pillows out. That's how I fake it. I make the pillows look like the bed is made. Okay. Underneath the quilt is a mess. Could be laundry
make it before you go to bed.
What?
I mean, you can't go into a bed like that.
What are you talking about? Of course you can. Of course you can.
What do you take a big gigantic chicken wing in there with you?
Sometimes some nuts. All right. Some Chex Mix. Yeah. I mean, what? Like, it's really, I don't listen. All the food that I've eaten in bed, I've never had a bed bug. Okay. Ever. So
I'm just trying to figure out with that unmade bed, how you even get in the thing and get comfortable.
What are you talking about? It's like cannonballing into a pool. You pull the quilt back, you're in. What? It's not like there's a security guard I got to deal with. How do you get into bed? Well, what do you mean? Gravity. How do I get in bed? I mean, and I don't care if there's a little salt, some crumbs, whatever, you brush them away.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
I mean, as long as they're not crawling on you, I don't care. Please. Mark, I grew up in apartments. Okay, honestly, there was so much noise outside. Okay. The heaters were working. Okay. It sounded like a train sometimes. Okay. All of a sudden the pipes started banging themselves and what have you. You're worried what my sheets look like? Are you serious? Please. Besides, I'm eating, I'm watching sports, I'm listening to music. I mean, what? Like I expect, okay, the bed to be pristine? No. I mean, for goodness sakes. Sometimes I have 2 snacks with me. Sometimes I have a meal and a snack. What? I'm not expecting any crumbs? Plus, Mark,
I can't handle crumbs in bed.
Seriously, Mark, I don't even know if I bring a plate most of the time. I just use my shelf. And by shelf, I mean my belly. Just put it right on top of the belly.
So a bed full of crumbs doesn't bother you. You can sleep right through that.
Well, no, then I usually, wipe the crumbs onto the floor.
And then what?
Well, once a month, we have a cleaning service. I mean, there you go. And you wonder why I have my room and the wife has hers.
No, I've pretty much figured this out in the last couple of minutes. I'm positive I know why. The unmade bed full of crumbs that no one would ever want to get in.
Well, it's not full of crumbs. It's full of crumbs when I'm in it. But before I go to sleep, I brush the crumbs onto the floor. The bed's pristine. I mean, if by some act of Congress my wife decided to join me, the bed would be pristine.
If you say so, sir.
It would be.
Pristine.
I've never had anybody leave the bed because of crumbs. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
The system has worked for me. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm glad that the system has worked for you. I didn't know we were going down this road. I wasn't expecting it.
Adam wants
to
to
know.
know.
A Bert and Ernie routine from a Sesame Street about eating in bed from the early 70s. Felipe, look it up.
Do I have to change my voice now?
I know Bert and Ernie.
Oh, let me tell you about the time I ate the potato chips. I don't know. So it works for me. That's all I'm saying. Back to being one of the pips. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bob Harig, little more than an hour. We'll talk a little golf. Tiger, Rory, with a big announcement. It was so big, Governor DeSantis stopped campaigning, got on the plane, flew back to Florida to be there for the photo op. That's when you know it's big. When you're putting that run for president that we haven't formally announced yet on hold because I got to be there for the photo op, this apparently is a big deal. And back on the plane, backed out to, one of those primary states early on in 2024. Let's go. Pat Kirwan. He's got a lot going on this week. Couldn't be on yesterday. Had to travel. Okay, can't be on Friday. He's got to travel. So we got him today. Seth Everett. We normally have him on hump days. We got him on this one. And we told you last week, Shelby Mast every Wednesday. He's in our bonus hour for those of you that don't get it and miss it. And you go to floridasportsnetwork.com, download it. Beginning at 10 o'clock, it'll be there. The bracket wag himself. Mark, 3 weeks tomorrow, is the NCAA tournament.
No, I know. And just how many Big 12 teams are going to be on the 1, 2, and 3 line is really what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, and not only that, they now think the whole conference is in except for Texas Tech. They're on the bubble. That's not a joke, by the way.
And Texas Tech has more quad 1 wins than North Carolina.
They do. They apparently, though, played the 332nd easiest non-conference schedule. So right now they're on the outside looking in. They have 5 conference wins, by the way. They're on the bubble. That's how tough the Big 12 is this year. So we got a full show. That's why we can spend a segment talking about crumbs in bed and the pips.
Both of us want to be a pip. Only one of us can tolerate crumbs in bed.
That's fair enough. And if that disqualifies me from being a pip, I understand.
Long as the tuxedo looks good, David, it doesn't matter. I mean, that one I would think you'd leave on the hanger. I expect you to look a little better than an unmade bed if you were a pip. That is a requirement. You got to learn how to tie that tie properly. That suit's got to look good. If you're going to be a pip, damn it, you better look good.
It's another reason why you would get the gig before me. Okay. You'd be better with the bow tie. I'd look a little more disheveled than you.
Oh, it was the 70s. Those were all clip-on bow ties. There's not a doubt in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Those light blue suits, light blue tuxedos, absolutely.
I didn't go light 2 or light blue. I had black. I had an ugly brown. Ooh, for whatever reason, brown was big in the 70s. Okay. I don't know why. I mean, UPS wasn't big, but brown was. Man.
Maybe that's where they took their lead from.
I think so. Somebody came CEO and they had looked at all those classroom pictures they had in the 70s and said, what can brown do for you? Because it didn't do squat for me.
Miller and Moulton. Terrific show, as David said, lined up. The starting 5 coming in 25 or so minutes. David is here, which is good news because there was a chance he wasn't going to show today based on what was happening on the show yesterday. We have the results from the most important poll question that we've ever had on the other side. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. The Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
KW, I like the suggestion for a poll question. Do you ever eat in bed? Yes, no, more than I do the dining room. Well, KW, the problem is, what if somebody gets legitimately hurt? Also, you miss one, you have to sit out 3. You know what's a part of it that we didn't mention? Gambling. About the whole NBA load management thing. If you don't know who's playing, remember when we wondered when Milwaukee and Boston were playing and how come the line was so big? And we figured, well, somebody's out for Boston, but who? Turned out it was 4 starters. But it's so funny that the NFL for 50 years has been adamant about injury reports and the accuracy of them. And during most of that time, gambling was not legal, except in Vegas.
I watched the last full swing yesterday.
How many are there?
8. That's where Rory's in the workout room and says, "Fuck you, Phil." And that you hear it in the last one. He's like, "I hope they leave that in there." And everybody's like, "Oh, they'll leave it in there."
These poll results are going to be news to me. Last I saw, it was like 53-47.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll head to Mexico, where Bob Harig is covering the LIV season opener. We'll talk about the Tiger Rory joint presser yesterday and the, innovative golf league that they're starting up in a year from now, maybe even a little less than a year from now. And it looks as if its home is going to be Palm Beach, Florida, and Palm Beach State College. They're building a facility and everything for it. So we'll talk to Bob about, everything going on in the golf world in a little more than an hour. Pat Kirwan at the top of our 8 o'clock hour.
But right now we have to return to yesterday's show, a topic that happened during the show in which I merely said a chicken wing could be too big. Those words started a near civil war between Miller and Moulton.
And between Moulton and his wife. And yes, that conversation had lots of tentacles yesterday.
It may have brought back the poll question to the Miller and Moulton show because our audience delivered. A lot of votes, lots of comments, lots of hostility towards the opposition. You would have thought we were talking politics, not chicken wings.
Right. I mean, KW in our Twitch chat room said he nearly got into a barroom brawl last night. Just turned to the guy next to him at the bar and asked him our question, and his answer didn't agree with KW, and apparently they nearly threw down.
But David, with a multitude of views and lots of votes, 51% of the voting public is on your side and says a chicken wing cannot be too big.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. I don't even care about the reelection and the power and the committees that come with it. I just, it's my faith in humanity. Before I went to bed last night, my wife said, "So are you really divorcing me and moving to Norway? All right, if the vote doesn't go your way." And I said, "Yes." She went, "Okay, good night. I love you." I guess for the final time, close the door. So 51-49?
Yes, it was. It was that tight.
Can you win and still feel like you didn't?
I don't know how. You either win or you lose. I lost. I take it. I take defeat as well as I can. And we just move on. You big chicken wing eating people.
But man, I mean, I thought I was going to win this 70-30. I mean, I was acting like a, fat, happy, drunk, incumbent. I thought this was, you got to be kidding me. Man, this was sweating it out on election night, staying up, late returns. I got all three networks on. Don't know who to believe.
But both networks from each side have called this over. And the big chicken wing wins. Barely.
You're not gonna protest, are you? We're not going to court. Not
No
contesting the
protesting. I'm
results?
not contesting the results. They're right there. It clearly says 51-49 final results.
Okay.
182 votes.
And we put that question up late. So, but once again, if it's non-sports, people are interested. Sports, whatever. So, as Arch says in our Twitch chat room, all wings matter.
And I think we morphed into a poll question already with it's just very simply, do you eat in bed?
Can I nominate, because, yes and no are easy. Can I nominate a third choice?
You can nominate a third choice, but it's a yes or no question. So why is it with yes or no questions that you feel we have to have three answers? Can you just because it doesn't matter what the question. If it's a simple yes or no, well, can we have, if I was on the moon, I would eat it? I don't understand why the hell a simple yes or no question has to have 74 answers, but please explain.
Well, I think because it falls under the whole yes, no, maybe so umbrella. See,
yes,
and this
maybe so.
This is the umbrella that I'm working under this year. I don't know what happened in El Paso. Okay. I blame the Sun Bowl. All right. Because I came out of the Sun Bowl with the idea of yes, no, maybe so. And our first show after the new year, I said, here's a segment I'd like to do. Yes, no, maybe so. And you looked at me kind of the same way you're looking at me right now. Like, man, I don't have any other work options. I got to spend 4 hours with this Yahoo. And so I'm just going to throw it out there.
Okay.
All right. Do you ever eat in bed? Yes, no, more often than I do the dining room. Just trying to add a little levity to the situation.
I see. More than the dining room.
Well, just, it kind of says not only do I eat in bed, hell, I eat here at least 3 times a week.
It also shows how little people eat in their dining room. Probably the most wasted room in the modern home.
Gonna say, and for the young couples, you shouldn't even get them the whole China Don't even do it. Just
No.
save them. Give them the cash. Honestly, they're not buying the thing to put the china in, so don't do it.
We eat dinner as a family more than I would think most families do. I try very hard to have dinner ready when my wife gets home from work, and the three of us, my wife and my daughter and I, try to sit down and have a family dinner nearly every night. I have a dining room with a nice dining room table that was my great-grandparents. It's beautiful. I cherish the furniture more than I cherish any other furnishings that I have. We eat at that table once a month tops. Tops.
But you walk right past it when you're about 6 steps into your house, and it's very nice. You go, oh, that's lovely. And you keep walking right to the kitchen and the living room.
Right.
Yes. Wow, that's very nice. That looks old. And then you keep going.
And then we eat at the kitchen table.
Correct. So just trying to make a point. That's all. Oh, I can't believe you would eat in bed. Well, I think most people eat in bed more than they do in their dining room.
I still don't eat in bed more than I don't ever eat in bed, ever.
Your wife doesn't bring food into the bed?
No.
So there's food never enters the bedroom.
No.
So there's no watching of TV together in bed.
No. Occasionally, but we don't eat. Well, I mean, just because we're watching TV doesn't mean we're having a snack.
Well, it's not a prerequisite. It's not like that's how you pay your toll to enter the bedroom. No, I get it. Okay, but a lot of people.
If I pay a toll to get to the bedroom, do I get more?
Well, it all depends on the arrangement you guys have. And if it's okay, you can just keep that between the two of you, or
Fair
we'll
enough.
talk about it during the commercial break. The Twitch audience, after all, they get a little something extra from time to time. And this would certainly qualify. So that's all, because if you think about it, if you're sitting on your couches and you're watching TV together, oftentimes there will be food or drink involved. Well, then if you go into your bedroom and you're both propped up watching TV together, certain people then go, hey, can I get you the pretzels? Would you like something? I don't know how.
It's a Seinfeld episode with Costanza trying to make Whoopi and eat at the same time in bed. I'm already fascinated by this poll question, because if you would listen to the two of us, it's polar opposites here. Food doesn't even touch our bedroom, and Moulton thinks I'm crazy for not having a snack in bed every other hour.
I don't think you're crazy, although I do want to apologize that I had your wife sounding like the impression I just did. Okay. I'm glad she doesn't listen to the show, because she'd be listening right now going, I don't sound like that, you slob. But so I apologize for doing that impression of your wife. Would you like me to get the pretzels? I mean, she really doesn't sound like that.
And she doesn't even really like pretzels that much either.
Probably not.
Miller and Moulton. Great show lined up for you today. The starting five on the other side. Our poll question will be up momentarily. It's Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
You have the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It's really solid, Paul. Is there a mini fridge in the bedroom?
Outstanding.
Is it up?
Yes.
You eat in bed, yes or no?
Yes.
Nice.
I think yes is going to win.
I'll be stunned.
So this is your chicken wing?
This is my chicken wing.
Not moving to Norway, are you?
No. I will be genuinely surprised if over half of our audience eats in bed.
Okay. I got to make sure I vote.
How hard do you think Cooper gave it to him after the first period last night? Did you see the shots in the second period?
I know they scored 4 times.
Yeah, they outshot him 22-1 after getting outshot 12-9 in the first. And hotel rooms don't count because you can't eat room service really anywhere but your bed. About the only place I've eaten in bed.
That's good input. 10 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bob Harig, 1 hour from now. We'll talk a little golf. Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Seth Everett, 2 hours from now. And in our bonus hour, and we'll do this right on through Selection Sunday, Shelby Mast, one of the best bracketologists out there. He will join us 20 minutes after 9. If you don't get our bonus hour, go to floridasportsnetwork.com and download it. Usually every hour is posted shortly after every hour is finished. So by about 10:30 this morning, you could probably download our interview with Shelby Mast, who's in, who's out, that sort of thing. NCAA tournament, if you're counting Dayton, it's 20 days from now, 3 weeks yesterday. If you wait until, we're down to 64, then that's 3 weeks tomorrow. It's on, baby. Got to start paying attention. Small conference tournaments start next week.
We love the small conference tournament on this show. The one bid leagues where they're playing for everything.
And you could go 8-22 during the regular season, lose 6 guarantee games, have a net rating of 329. Win 3 games in 3 days, you're going dancing, baby. Love it. Unless, of course, you're the 24-6 team who loses one of those games. Oh, well. Enjoy the NIT. Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Hey, I'm going to accentuate the positive before we get to a, pretty big negative. But let's go positive. Let's start college basketball. We tried to warn you. We gave you a huge tip. I don't know what the Miami Hurricanes have to do to get some respect. They're not playing football. They're playing men's basketball, okay? They're really good at it. Jim Larrañaga has been nominated for the Hall of Fame. He hasn't gotten in yet, but he's pretty good at this coaching thing. They went to the Elite Eight last year. And I don't know about you, Mark, but I actually think they can go to the Final Four. They have senior guards, and they can score.
That's the key, because everybody defends, and everybody will defend in the tournament. They play good defense, but they have multiple guys who can get the ball to the basket. Even last night, it was evident last night in the first half. They came out shooting horribly, and they were down. They got to the ball to the basket every time. They were just missing shots, and they keep plugging and end up winning the game.
The Canes are 23-5. They're 7-4 on the road. Take a look at everybody's road record. All right, 7-4 on the road, playing the schedule they've played. They beat Vodtech 76-70. Somehow, some way, the Canes were a 2-point dog in this game. We were jumping up and down yesterday going, remember, they were a 5-point dog against North Carolina and beat them.
Another thing to take note of in the game, they were 8 of 10 from the line in the last minute and a half or whatever it was. They make their free throws at the end of games.
Canes ranked 11th in one poll, 13th in the other. Yet I've seen them, like last week, Shelby had them on a 5 line. I don't know. I see them as no worse than a 4 seed, maybe a 3. They're tied for first in the ACC. This team is a sleeper Final Four pick. I'm telling you. And by the way, don't sleep on Villanova. Villanova's finally got all their players healthy. And they went to Cincinnati and beat Xavier last night, 64-63. Look out for Nova in the Big East tournament. They're going to have to win it to get in it. But I'm just telling you, remember 3-4 years ago, Georgetown heading into the Big East tournament? John Fanta came on our show, Mark, and said, watch out for Georgetown. If they can beat Nova in the second round, they might run this table. And they beat Nova and they ran the table. Haven't won anything since. Well, Nova could be that team this year in the Big East tournament. First home game for Michigan State since the school shooting. You figured it would be emotional, and you figured the Spartans would play well. It was, and they did, and they whooped up on the Hoosiers by 15. Game of the night, Marquette overcoming a double-digit deficit on the road. I'm telling you, and this is a young Marquette team. This team could do this year and next year. They're ranked 10th in the country. They beat top 20 Creighton 73-71. Texas A&M solidifying their resume. And you're saying, well, wait a minute, they're ranked. Their resume, believe it or not, they got a bunch of SEC wins and not much else. Well, they beat Tennessee last night after winning at Missouri over the weekend, 68-63 Aggies.
Tennessee 1-4 in their last 5. Their one win, however, was against Alabama.
Right. More on Alabama in a moment. By the way, K-State beat Baylor by 10 in a battle of top 15 Big 12 teams. Texas whooped up on Iowa State and San Diego State, a winner. Mark, you mentioned Alabama.
Yeah.
Glad you did. So they're the number 1 team in the country, or at least they were last week. Right now, they're the number 1 overall seed, though. They announced the top 16 seeds. Bama's number 1, according to the NCAA right now. They have a freshman standout named Brandon Miller. Remember the story last month? All right.
Oh, yeah.
The guy who's associated with the Alabama basketball program, he hardly played, Darius Miles, and he shot and killed a 23-year-old woman. Well, it turns out Brandon Miller gave him the gun. Now, apparently, it was Miles' gun. The guy who did the shooting, it was his gun. But apparently, Miles called Miller and said, hey, can you get my gun and bring it to me? And so Miller brought him the gun, which Miles then used and killed the woman. According to the authorities, there is nothing they can charge Brandon Miller with. Boy, that's not all the Law and Orders that I've watched. I thought that makes you an accessory. So he has not been charged. And Nate Oates, the head coach of Alabama, first used some very poor word choice when confronted with it yesterday. He said, well, Miller was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, Oates an hour later and immediately saw how that was playing and came out with a clarification because he was not in the wrong place at the wrong time. He actually got the guy's gun and brought it to him. So apparently this Brandon Miller guy is not going to be charged. Which, I mean, we've got plenty of lawyers listening right now. Does that sound right to you? If I call Mark and say, hey, get me my gun, and Mark brings it to me, and I then shoot and kill somebody, Mark's not in trouble? And if so, okay. It just seems to go against all the Law and Orders that I've watched, and I've watched 200 of them. So what do I know? And I also slept in a Holiday Inn Express recently. But anyway. So we'll see how this plays out. Here's a bunch of questions here, though. Nate Oates said he's been aware of this. Was the AD aware of it? Is the university president aware of it? I'm being very serious here. If you're the university president, you weren't made aware of this, people get fired over something. I mean, it's a bad look. Alabama's getting destroyed by the national media in the last 18 hours. Destroyed. You let this kid continue to play for you? They have. They were made aware of it. He's continued to play. I don't know. To most people, legally, it seems as if the player should be in some kind of legal trouble. But maybe not. Don't know the law. Curious to the lawyers out there. 21,000, our text line. If you can watch on Twitch, the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel, does that sound like an accessory to murder? If I provide the gun to Mark and Mark shoots and kills somebody, I'm okay legally? I don't know. It's a bad look. I know that. No NBA games until tomorrow, but yesterday the Hawks fired Nate McMillan. Their top assistant, Joe Prunty, right now is named interim head coach. They may hire somebody quickly, or they may wait till the end of the year. The leading candidate's Quinn Snyder. If you were Quinn Snyder, Mark, would you take the Hawks job?
I would.
So you wouldn't wait to the end of the year to see what else opens?
Well, see, it depends what you think the Hawks are. Are they underachieved this year and you think you can do a little bit more? Are they a piece away from being a good team? They've got some pieces there. I'd take the job.
Okay, and I'm curious about Philadelphia because I think if they don't make it to the conference finals, I think Doc Rivers gets axed. And I got Embiid and Harden, and I'm wondering if I might want that job. But anyway, keep Quinn Snyder in mind. Nets gave Jacques Vaughn an extension through 2027. The Bulls rule out point guard Lonzo Ball for the entire season. He will not have played this year because of 2 surgeries on his knee. Mark, this could be a Brandon Roy situation from a generation ago. Lonzo Ball, don't know if he's ever, because they had the 2 surgeries to fix his knee from an injury a year and a half ago, and the pain's been so bad all year he hasn't been able to play a single game. That's concerning as to his future, and he's like 23 years old. Women's college hoops. St. John's was a bubble team. They went to Connecticut, beat UConn last night, 69-64. I don't know about you, Mark, but I think that gets you in.
That's kind of the bubble burster. I mean, that's the one bubble team if you beat. Doesn't it trump all others?
And not only that, it should probably cost UConn a 1 seed. I mean, don't worry about it. The committee will still put them in Connecticut. Okay, I mean, they're not going to actually make them play on the road. Okay, but, they might actually have to be a 2 seed. Like last year when they hosted top-seeded NC State in the region final. UCF beat Temple 57-53 in women's hoops. The Lightning, what were they again? Minus 530?
Minus 530. They got outshot, I think, 12-9 in the first period, 13-9, something like that against the Ducks, and then they got yelled at.
And they scored 4 times in the second period and won 6-1 over Anaheim. Carolina won, Jersey lost, so Carolina's leading the division's 5 points. Toronto doubled up Buffalo 6-3. The Wild now have a 4-point lead over Calgary for the final playoff spot because they beat the Kings 2-1. Nashville won in a shootout. The Blackhawks beat Vegas in a shootout. Connor McDavid 2 goals and assists to rally Edmonton to a 4-2 win over Philly. LIV golfers allowed to play in the Open Championship. Tiger, Rory, Governor DeSantis, a presser at Palm Beach State College yesterday to announce the High Tech Golf League, TGL. 11 players already committed, Mark. Tiger, Rory, Rahm, JT, Adam Scott, Morikawa, Matt Fitzpatrick, Homa, Horschel, Rose, Schauffele. 6 teams of 3, data-driven virtual course. Going to have a short game complex for chipping and putting. They're going to play Monday nights. The matches are going to take 2 hours. There'll be betting, and everybody will be mic'd up. And there'll be fans cheering and chanting. You interested?
No. I mean, I will watch probably the first one because I love golf and I'm fascinated by what they're trying to do, but I can't see this being something I'm going to be tuning into every Monday going, woo-hoo-hoo, I got to watch the virtual golf match that's on TV.
Tiger Woods is involved. People seem to want to watch Tiger read a book. So, I don't know. I'm inclined to think this is going to work. Because also every network that's involved in golf is going to promote the out of it. Because this is also done in conjunction with the PGA Tour. And at 8 minutes before the hour, that was
the starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
That virtual golf thing probably was a better poll question for a sports talk show. We didn't go with it.
No, because you guys don't like our sports poll questions. You like our non-sports poll questions. So finally, I mean, we've been doing this about 17 years. We figure we're finally going to start to give the people what they want. So, do you eat in bed? Yes or no? And if you want to add a maybe so, you can't do it in this one.
No, you can't.
I wanted to add, okay, more than I eat at the dining room table. Wasn't allowed to add it. So I threw it in my comments. I answered it.
See, there you go. That's what I'm looking for out of you. More comments. More snarky comments.
Because 4 hours of talking's not enough. I need to throw in a little line when I answer a poll question.
Absolutely. And right now, 2/3 of you do not eat in bed.
Apparently, if I win this, Mark is the one who's quitting the show.
Miller and Moulton and eating in bed. It's our topic today on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, David.
Mm-hmm.
All right. On this, Darius Miles did not shoot the person. Darius Miles gave the gun to his friend who shot the person.
So he called Miller.
Miller gave him the gun.
Miller then brought the gun to Miles. It was Miles' gun. Miles handed it to the guy, and he shot him.
Correct.
Right. So there was one other body in between.
Correct.
You called me asking for your gun. I went and got it, brought it to you. You handed it to Felipe. Felipe killed the woman.
Right.
Right. And legally, am I in trouble? And apparently the answer is no. And I will say, I could go up there and go, well, I just figured he needed it in self-defense. I didn't know they were going to kill somebody.
Is this Darius Miles related to NBA Darius Miles, or is just another Darius Miles?
I thought he was related, but
Perhaps not.
I did, Brian. There is a story that he, according to the article I'm reading, yes. Which is why the whole wrong place, wrong time thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yeah, his car got hit with 2 bullets, Jake.
by the way, if you're an NBA team, you have trouble drafting this guy, he's a projected top 5 pick. I mean, looks as if he's not going to be charged with anything. To the gentleman in law enforcement, does what you heard later about apparently Miller blocked the woman's car with his car, I mean, does that lead you to believe that he knew more than and was involved a little bit more? Oates, the coach, Nate Oates, claims that Alabama's known about it. They've cooperated from the beginning. And Oates made it sound as if everyone at Alabama knows that this is not something that's being kept to the basketball offices, that the AD knows. And you would think if you were the AD, you would let the university president know.
Ten seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Bob Harig to join us in a little less than 40 minutes. Live from Mexico, he's covering the LIV event, which is at Mayakoba, which used to host a PGA Tour event for the last few years. But now they've abandoned the tour in favor of LIV, which is another interesting factoid in the whole war between the tours and what have you. Tiger and Rory with a big announcement yesterday about their virtual golf league. Hey, quick question about that. Tiger was asked, is there going to be gambling? And he went, yeah. In fact, he looked at Rory and said, we don't know how to play without it.
Right. He said I almost said it's an integral part of our sport, or it's a huge part. I mean, he came right out and said what we all know, but that's just not normal things that are said at a presser. Hey, gambling's a big part of our game.
Okay, question. They're in Florida. Can they legally gamble on this? I mean, Governor DeSantis was there. I mean, or is this going to be people watching at home in states where you're allowed to place bets. I mean, I'm being serious here because you and I have a vested interest in bringing legalized sports gambling to the state of Florida. I mean, it would likely add 10 to 15 years to our careers because the legalized sports gambling world would spend oodles of money on sports radio for yahoos like us to continue to do a show. So
to talk to you about gambling.
Right.
More than we already do.
So believe me, it benefits Miller and Moulton for legalized sports gambling in Florida.
More than you could ever imagine. Full disclosure.
But with that said, I mean, can you bet on sports in Florida in a legal way now?
No.
I don't think you can, right? You can't even go to a casino on Indian land and bet on sports.
Not at this current time.
Right. So does this league, in conjunction with the PGA Tour, by the way, it is. I mean, it's a symbiotic relationship here. Tiger and Rory are doing this to make money, but also to boost the profile of the tour. This is an all-out war. They're going to win. Does this cause a change in our sports gambling laws in this state within the next 11, 12 months?
I hope so. The one thing that I find fascinating is that they're going to be betting one another while they play.
Right.
That's the way they're talking about it. In essence, if sports gambling's not legal, is that gambling? I mean, they won't care. And it's, it's going to be $50, $100, but does that matter?
I would think it would. I would think it would. These guys are worried about their image. Somebody points out, what you guys are doing is illegal. Now, I mean, nobody's going to give them a hard time over it because, do we want to guess as to the percentage of golfers who have something invested financially in the round, even if you're playing for $2 a side? I mean, how many rounds of golf, Mark, do you play in which there's not a dollar at stake on that round?
Only if I'm playing with my son.
Okay.
I mean, there's not a time that I play golf that I'm not gambling.
Right. Which
that's the whole point of playing the damn game.
Well, and Tiger damn near gave that impression yesterday.
Yes. He said what we've all known for years. I mean, you get on the first tee with a group of guys. How about a $5 Nassau? Everybody in?
I mean, technically, it's illegal. Technically, it is. It's like every now and then you hear the story around March Madness time and they crack down on the, behind the bar. They got the brackets posted. And every now and then there'll be a local law enforcement person somewhere in the country who cracks down on the bar that, sold 64 teams to a bunch of people at $20 a team or what have you. I mean, technically it is, although now in 30 states it may not be. It may be legal in those 30. I don't know what I know you can bet on professional sports in 30 states in this country. Does that also allow you to have the brackets behind the bar at your local watering hole?
Probably not.
Right.
I mean, probably not, because the state's not benefiting from it, David. So I that would guess that technically but no one's ever bothered with that stuff.
So
usually they don't bother with a $5 Nassau when someone's playing a round of golf, but it would be interesting at a public forum if they're out gambling like that.
So that's number one. Number two, and we've just asked, we're not lawyers, all right? And besides the fact that I love Law and Order, all right, and have slept in a Holiday Inn Express in the past few months, all right? I'm not trying to play one on this show. But there's a bad look right now, at the very least, associated with the University of Alabama men's basketball program. Their star player was in a small way involved in the fatal shooting of a 23-year-old woman last month. Apparently, there were two guys involved in the shooting. One of them called this player and said, "Hey, get me my gun and bring it to me here." And so essentially, Mark called me and said, "David, bring me my gun. I got the gun, brought it to Mark. Mark ended up handing the gun to Felipe. Felipe shot the woman. Right? That's how I got it.
Yes.
So that's how it went down. And so my involvement for this sake, I'm the star player. Okay. Could you see me averaging 19 points, 8 rebounds a game, please? Okay. I couldn't even do that in an indoor Nerf league. So apparently this came out in, their police testimony yesterday. They're trying to see whether or not this is going to go to trial. And so the police divulged, here are the facts. Well, we didn't know that the really good Alabama basketball player was involved in this.
And was at the bar, witnessed the murder. Another Alabama player was at the bar, witnessed the murder. Both were questioned at length by authorities.
Now, the star player and the other basketball player not charged. Okay, the guy whose gun it was associated with the program in the university. He obviously no longer is. And so it's a messy, bad look at best. But what many are wondering is the star player, is this some sort of state, county cover-up because he's a star player on one of the top 3 teams in the country who's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft in June? Or no, he didn't do anything legally wrong, because how was he supposed to know what the guy was going to do with the gun? Although usually when you ask for a gun.
Yeah, I mean that, and again, law, not talking law here.
Right.
If you called me and said, bring me my gun.
Right.
Why?
Now, well, that's self-defense, right? Apparently, I don't know, there's a situation here. I'm scared. Bring me my gun. Okay. Obviously, it was not used in self-defense, though. It was used aggressively, tragically. And so, therefore, would you, Mark, the star player now, did you legally do something wrong because I called you and said, bring me my gun, which apparently is illegal. It was not an illegal firearm or anything like that. Apparently I had all my paperwork and the whole deal. I'm allowed to have had the gun. So.
And right now, and even Alabama police are saying he did nothing wrong at this point.
Right. Alabama came out yesterday and said, listen, we've been fully cooperating, and we've had numerous people in our athletic department that have been interviewed multiple times. Also, Nate Oates, the head coach, made it seem as if, listen, it's not like I've kept this from the AD and we've kept it from the university president. Okay. Everybody's aware of what's going on here. So is it just a bad look?
Well, it's more than a bad look. I just don't know if it's illegal for this player, because what's been pointed out is that the school knew and didn't disclose that Miller was present at the time of the murder. It did know and never disclosed that there were bullet holes in his windshield from the shootout. And they did know and never disclosed that he was questioned by the police at length. So, Alabama knew a lot more, but do they have to disclose that?
Well, see, and I would argue no. And I've told the story many times. There was a guy that I dealt with in another city who had a prominent sports job in that market. And he was questioned for 24 hours in a murder investigation. And I knew that. And I didn't report it. Okay, because the police told me, listen, we don't think he's a suspect, but he might have some information. But if I reported that this person I could have just given you the facts. He's being questioned in a murder investigation. He probably loses his job just because guilt by association. It's a bad look. And so I held it and never reported it. And my guess here is that if you're Alabama and you're saying to the authorities, so he did nothing legally wrong, then they're thinking, well, why am I going to go public with this? It's only going to make the kid look bad. And you're telling me he didn't do anything wrong.
The coach right now is the one who looks looks as bad as anyone, because he looks as if he's covered this up by the comments of he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's not true.
Right. And
that's a bold-faced lie. He brought a gun to another person. He wasn't at the wrong place. He was called. Now, he might have ended up at the wrong place at the wrong time, but he was called there and went there willingly.
Now, he did he saw very quickly how those comments were being played out, and he's like, oh, this is not good. And he clarified those comments about 90 minutes later. But yes, his initial comments yesterday were not good. So, it looks as if Brandon Miller, I believe is the player's name, 18 points, 8 rebounds a game. Expected to be a top 5 pick in the draft. Alabama is going to be a 1 seed. Right now, according to the NCAA, they're the number 1 overall seed. Nate Oates is still coaching them. Neither one of us expect any of that to change. But for the next 48 hours, they are going to get destroyed by the national media, fairly or unfairly. You decide.
Your thoughts at 21,000, 21,000. That's the text line. Whether you want to comment on the Alabama case, the gambling, virtual golf, Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy presser yesterday, or whether or not you eat in bed. It's that simple. It's our poll question today. Do you eat in bed? Yes or no? We limited it to 2 options because they are the only options, despite the fact that some want to call for more. Answer that. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You ban it. You ban it. She leaves crumbs everywhere.
It's disgusting.
Pops, I love not anymore. That's outstanding. I had a stew in bed a couple of weeks ago.
Oh my God.
Just right out of the
What's
bowl.
the matter with you?
What are you talking about? What? Just
Yeah, just spill it all over the place. No, of course you didn't spill a drop.
Well, if I did it on me. All right. I didn't spill it in the bed. All right. And I actually don't think I spilled any of the stew. Chips and salsa is the tough one.
Holy cow! That's salt. That's crumbs. And are you kidding me?
That's the tough one.
51-49 in favor of big wings.
Yeah, they can't be too big. But it was dangerously close.
10 seconds. I ate on the bed the other day and I hated it.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Clutch Vodka play of the day coming up in a few minutes. You know how sometimes that person that you're in a relationship with, and let's face it, when you're co-hosting a 4-hour radio show together and you've been doing it 17 years, okay, I mean, Mark and I are in a relationship.
There's no doubt. I've joked, I've been watching that full swing, and they've been talking to some of the caddies and players that are close, and it's like, yeah, we're like a married couple. And and when they said that, I went, well, I can relate to that. I can truly relate to that.
And when you're in a relationship, that person in your life, you could be in a bad mood and they can snap you out of it. They're one of the few people in the world that can snap you out of it. But they're also one of the few people in the world that, if your day's off to a good start, and Mark's day got off to a great start because he heard that song. And Mark's got 3 to 4 minutes in the car, and that's only if he catches the light. I mean, he could have 2 minutes in the car. If he actually hits the light, he can just make the quick left U-turn. He's in the parking lot. So he doesn't even get the full song. But apparently today he got the full song. And Mark, what song did you get?
Gladys Knight and the Pips, Midnight Trade to Georgia. Best backup vocals maybe ever. And I was doing them with the dance moves in the car.
And the Pips, okay? The arms and the hips and the turning of the shoulders. And then Midnight Train to Georgia. What do you got?
Woo, woo.
Right. So Mark's in a phenomenal mood. Then he has to deal with the guy he's in a relationship with here, me. And between wrapping up yesterday's poll question about whether or not you can have wings that are too big, and apparently the answer is no, barely, 51-49. All right. But then we got to talking about eating. And so I eat in bed. And apparently that's one of the 5 worst things you can do in Western civilization.
You don't just eat in bed, it's your dining room. What I'm figuring out, and I've known you a long time, and I get you don't eat at the dining room table. And I get that you might eat in front of the television and might just eat standing up at the kitchen counter. I get all of those things. But apparently your bed is your dining room. And that is incredibly odd to me.
It's not my dining room. But it's
had stew in bed. Stew.
Yeah.
Beef stew.
Uh-huh.
In bed. It's your dining room.
And not only that, it didn't even reheat it. Okay. So, yes, I did. All right. Uh-huh. I'll do it again, too. So, Mark, when I let him know during the break, I had stew in bed last week. And Mark's like, basically, I'm quitting. I need a new job. I have to get a new partner. And so I go, well, I mean, Stu, come on. I got the big container. Okay. I'm eating right out of it. I actually kept everything in the container. I didn't spill it or anything. And Mark didn't believe me. I'm like, no. Usually I do. This time I didn't. But then I said, Mark, the stew's not a problem. Chips and salsa in bed are the problem. And that just sent him off.
Because it's crumbs and pieces of salt and the chance you get salsa in the bed. Now you got a tomato stain there. Oh, my goodness.
See, eating in bed with something that requires a fork or a spoon, I can understand. But eating something with your hands in bed is where I draw the line. Like if you gave me a bowl of pasta with a fork.
Now we're having spaghetti and meatballs.
Not spaghetti, like penne pasta.
Oh, penne pasta.
In bed.
I can't.
Well, you're not eating with your hands. I mean.
Well, most people aren't. But, so back to the salsa, chips and salsa. Now, remember, the chips can stay in the bag. Okay? The salsa can stay in the jar. So now, Mark, where do you put the jar? You put it
on the shelf.
Put it on the shelf, on your belly. Okay? So you're laying there. You're watching TV. The chips are to your right because you eat right-handed. You take the chip from the bag, you dip it in the salsa, you put it right in your mouth. What's the problem? What's the problem? If at the end of about 213 chips, okay, that there are crumbs, where are they? They're on the shelf. So
they are not just on the shelf, though. There are exploding crumbs and salt that has gone everywhere.
They're on the shelf.
I want one of those lights. I want to go CSI Jacksonville. I need one of those lights.
Is this blood at a crime scene? Is that what you want? Mark, let me tell you, if you bring one of those neon lights into my bedroom, okay, it'll just be nothing but neon. I mean, there'll be crumbs everywhere. Because that's the thing. That's what you do. You look and you go, man, there are a lot of crumbs on these shelves. So then you reach over, you grab the top of the salsa jar, you put it on, put the salsa next to your thing, and then you have to get up so that all your crumbs do what? Projectile off of the shelf onto the floor.
And with your agility, your flexibility, and your pure athleticism at your age, I know that escape from the bed, nothing would ever get on the bed, that it all goes right to the floor.
Mark, once again, I do not look athletic, and I'm not. Okay, but this is food athleticism. All right, this is like foul ball, Moulton. Remember, you've seen foul ball Moulton in action. Surprising quickness and agility.
Good first 3 steps, more than I thought you had.
All right, this is food athleticism. All right, this is like the guy who's not fast, but you put him on that 3-cone shuttle, surprise you. And also, here's the backup. If by chance you get crumbs in the bed, you know what you do? You put them back on the floor. You just wipe them onto the floor.
Getting David a vacuum fast.
Oh, do need one of those.
Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. It doesn't involve eating in bed, although it's from the sounds of it, Moulton's chips and salsa could be worthy of our play of the day with that agility of getting out of bed with apparently out spilling any crumbs in the bed. Felipe, what do you have?
Yeah, really cool moment from East Lansing last night. Michigan State once again hosting their first home game since that tragic shooting on campus. Hosting 17-ranked Indiana. Yeah, Indiana. 15-point victory. Here's some of the sounds from the night.
Hogarth with the basketball. Breaks to the basket. He gets by everybody, and he burns Jackson Davis for the easy layup. Hauser wide open for a 3. No good. Rebound, Marty Sissoko. Now to Akins. He'll try a 3. He got it. Indiana tries to get a shot. No good. Turnover, and there will be no more scoring in this game. Well, we say there's no place like home, and that's the story of this evening at the Breslin Center. This basketball team needed to come home, and it got a win that it also needed desperately.
Sparty with the win at home against Indiana. That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K. Go to clutchspirits.com. Look for Clutch Vodka anywhere that you buy your spirits and hashtag all your drinks on social media with the hashtag Clutch Spirits.
They played Michigan in their first game after the shooting. They were supposed to play Minnesota. That game got canceled. They played Michigan, and I know you guys hate each other, but you got to give it up to Wolverines for the classy moment before that game.
Incredibly classy. They had the green lights. All the fans were wearing Spartan Strong stuff. It was a very special moment. Izzo was very emotional on the court, both in Ann Arbor and again last night. Obviously, they had the 8 seats for the 3 that died and the 5 that were shot in the front row, left alone. And Sparty with the big win that they needed, and not much of a surprise, really, with everything going on, that they would have a great emotional performance last night.
Every now and then, sports can help. Every now and then, just make you feel a little bit better about things for a short while.
Kind of like chips and salsa in bed, apparently.
Well,
it can make you feel better for a short while. And then the crumbs are there. And then to me, there would be incredible guilt at that point, but apparently not so much for you.
Well, I was raised Catholic, so I'm used to it. Miller and Moulton. Bob Harig to talk golf from Mexico next.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I don't think you mentioned it, and today was day one yesterday, but yesterday, 4 years ago, was that Duke UNC game where 30 seconds into the game, Zion blew his shoe out.
No, I didn't mention that because it's not really.
But do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I feel like that was a missed opportunity, that game. I mean, I know it was just a regular season game, but
A missed opportunity for what?
What are we talking about here?
one of the
He's talking about Zion blowing his shoe out.
remember when he did that 4 years ago?
Yeah, it was.
What's
4
the
years
missed
ago.
opportunity is what I'm waiting for.
Missed opportunity of one of the best Duke UNC games of all time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they've had 30 great ones.
I just remember seeing
Felipe,
that.
the things that bounce in your head are pretty amazing.
I remember all the hype going into that game.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, former
was-
President Obama was at the game, and
Yeah.
people were paying thousands for a ticket.
It was one of the most expensive tickets in the history of college basketball. And Zion was 80% of that reason. And 30 seconds into the game, he injured himself.
Which is the story of his career.
So true. He's either Greg Oden or Shaq.
Wow, I didn't know this. In 2013, Doorbot pitched Shark Tank to raise $700,000 at a $7 million valuation. The Sharks said no. Doorbot changed their name to Ring. In 2018, Amazon bought Ring for $1 billion.
Ooh. You know what? Ring has a nice ring to it. Better than Doorbot.
Yes, it is, KW. Yes, it is. LA Paul, there's no doubt if Zion, because the Pelicans are pretty good without him. But if Zion could, that's why, like, he had that setback 2 weeks ago. There were people that were like, listen, if Zion can come back healthy in March, the Pelicans could win the West.
He's getting him on the phone right now.
Bob's on hold. Oh my gosh, those are some of the most fun college basketball games I've ever seen on TV. Every single one was nationally televised. They had RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish.
I mean, this just in. Every Duke UNC game's been nationally televised for the last 35 years.
No, I'm saying every game of that. Well, most Duke games are nationally
Yeah,
televised.
they are.
But
particularly when they had Zion on the team.
that's what I'm saying. That season was insane.
Believe it or not, Felipe, do you know who has every one of their games televised? Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
If you count ESPNU, every Kansas game has been televised for years.
Throw Kentucky in there, kind of?
Possibly.
We're coming back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan to join us. Talk all things NFL at the top of the hour. Seth Everett joins us for his weekly appearance 1 hour from now. Bob Harig is kind enough to join us once again, and he does so south of the border, covering the LIV event in Mexico. Bob covers golf for Sports Illustrated, and it was just 10 months ago, Mark, that Tiger and Phil, golf's most fascinating rivalry, was released. You can still get that. It's, in a way, it could be even a better Father's Day gift this year than last year. Think about everything that's happened since then. Cover Bob on Twitter at Bob Harig, Harig. Bob, it's David and Mark once again. Thanks for your time. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Well, it's going pretty well. First off, how many LIV events did you cover last year? And, did you go on the road with the LIV last year, or is this the first time that you're leaving the States to cover this tour?
No, I actually did 7 of the 8 last year. We kind of decided to go all in to see, really what it was like. And so I went to London for the first one, and I went to Thailand and Jeddah for the trip in the middle. Towards the end of the year, did the last one in Miami. And I don't expect I'll do quite as many this year. They have 14 of them. But obviously we wanted to be at the first one of their, what is now they're calling the league, the LIV Golf League. So it's been an interesting experience. Obviously this has been incredibly disruptive and very controversial for a lot of reasons. And and you've got some really, be honest, you got some name guys doing this that, a year ago this time, we would have had a hard time believing that any of this could have gone down, certainly to the extent that it has.
And they have, to me, Bob, a little bit of momentum. Obviously, with Cam Smith joining, they've added a few more players in the last couple of weeks. They're getting some younger players with a little bit of status. At first, this was, a few also-rans and DJ. But now it seems as if they have continued their momentum. Is that a fair statement?
Well, actually, I might argue differently. I thought they had momentum when they finished last year in Miami. Their team event at Doral was probably their best one. I thought that the vibe there, the fan interest, the spectators, the mood was as good as any I had been to. The Thailand event was very good for that as well, because in a place like that, they don't get to see Phil Mickelson or Dustin Johnson. So it was very, very well attended there. The problem that I have is that in the off season here, they've sort of had one thing after another. They've lost several executives. It took them a long time to get their schedule done. And, so I surmise that their bosses in Saudi Arabia meddled. Last year, they didn't. They stayed out of it. There wasn't supposed to be another event in Jeddah this year. They had a 14 tournament schedule without that. For numerous reasons, it's a bad idea to go back there. I understood it last year because they were, they were trying to get 8 tournaments, and getting venues was tough. But they had a 14 tournament schedule lined up this year without going back to Jeddah, and they insisted they go there. And it's going to end up being their team championship event at the end, which, I went to the event there, and there's no people. There's barely 1,000 people at the event. There's no golf but louder vibe, So I think that hurt them. It really took them till this week to get their entire team lineup announced. They needed to be hyping this first event here for a long time. It's going up against the Honda Classic, which is not a great field. They do have an opportunity here to maybe, capture some people who might be curious. And we'll see. I just think they might have lost a little bit there. And now they're not going to have, I don't think, the quite the drama that we saw throughout last year. There's not supposed to be any defections now. These 48 players, more or less, are locked. They're not going to be signing somebody after the Masters per se. So, we'll see. I mean, they did get a network deal. The CW network, it's been somewhat maligned, but I think it's a good outcome for them. The CW network is in a lot of homes, and they weren't getting on NBC, CBS, ABC, ESPN. So this was a good outcome for them. Now they have, an actual broadcast partner, and they're starting to, now they need to start getting sponsors and things like that. And I guess where I have to give them some slack is it's only been a year. These things don't come together overnight. It takes time. And, so far, when you look at it from that standpoint, it's pretty remarkable how far they've come.
The Honda Palm Beach this week, Golf Channel, and then NBC. The LIV event Friday through Sunday in Mexico. Friday, CW. Apparently, they're saying Friday's coverages, Mark, are only going to be on the CW app. And then you're going to get Saturday, Sunday coverage in the States, and in North America, you're going to get it live. When it's overseas, it's going to be tape delayed and then shown on the CW. There was a press conference yesterday in the States, Bob. Tiger, Rory, and this Tomorrow Sports is what they're calling it, this TGL, this high-tech golf league. First off, Bob, your gut feeling, like we're mixed. Mark doesn't think it's going to work. I think Tiger's involved. He could read books to school children and people would watch. Okay, your thoughts on this high-tech golf league?
Yeah, I agree. Having Tiger and Rory involved gives it a chance. I think we're gonna be intrigued or at least curious about what it is. And I give them credit for thinking outside the box a little bit. I think if anything, what LIV has done is it's forced the tour and some of the other players who want to remain with the tour to recognize that the game could use some alternative formats. It could use some things that are different, maybe to attract a different audience. I mean, this is going to be a 2-hour Monday night show contained inside. That's it. It's not a 4-day commitment. It's not a 5, 6, 8-hour commitment. It's 2 hours, and we'll see these guys hit shots on a simulator. And then I guess there's going to be some sort of in-studio bunkers and greens and things like that. I mean, I just think from that standpoint, it'll be interesting how they make that work. And I guess there's going to be these 3-man teams, and they're going to do it for Monday nights for 2 months. I don't know that every player will be there for every one. I don't think that's going to be the case, but you'll see them for a majority of them. And I think something like this is worth trying. Whether or not it will be successful is another story. I still am having a little bit of a hard time wrapping my arms around exactly how it will work. But it sounds like they've put a lot of time and resources into it. They gave themselves a long window to launch. They announced this in August and it isn't starting until next January. And now they've been slowly signing up some players. And, obviously these guys are going to be getting paid. This is sort of another response to LIV. It's a way for the game's elite to get compensated a little bit better. Not that they were compensated poorly, but I do think that, the reason this has all come about is because, in golf, there's no guarantees. And it's a commercial entity where the stars seemingly, sometimes they're doing a lot of performing for nothing. So now this is one area that maybe kind of fills in one of those gaps.
It will be fascinating. And I'm all I'm a video game guy. I like video games. I like the idea of playing this game. I just don't know how much I like the idea of sitting down on a Monday night and watching guys play video games. That's where I am on it, but we will definitely find out. Bob, I'm curious, where's the better field this week? At the tournament you're covering or at the Honda?
Yeah, listen, I think if you broke it down by the world rankings, it's probably this one. I think they, and look, let's be honest, the world rankings don't really reflect the true ranking of some of the LIV guys now because they've not been getting points. But, when you have Dustin Johnson, Cam Smith, Joaquin Neiman, Patrick Reed, Taylor Gooch, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, that's probably better than Honda, which I believe doesn't have anybody in the top 18 or 17 and only 8 of the top 50. And look, this is no reflection on the Honda Classic. It's a great, and has been a great tournament. They are just a victim of circumstances right now. They follow 2 designated events in Phoenix and Riviera this year, and they precede 2. Arnold Palmer and the Players. In fact, even in recent years, Tiger's event and the Arnold Palmer, it has been squeezed in between them several times. Those were already elevated. They had bigger purses. They had, a better exemption for winning. A lot of people aren't skipping those tournaments, and it made Honda easy to skip. Now it's even worse with the requirement that guys play these tournaments. So, the Honda's in a tough spot there in the schedule. And I think going forward, the Tour has to really work hard to try to spread some of this out so as to not hurt some of its regular tournaments. And that's a challenge.
Yeah, they may have to change designated events, quite frankly, year to year. Otherwise, I don't know how the Hondas of the world will continue to hold on to their sponsors. Bob, there were some whispers in the last week that maybe a golfer or two on the LIV League is, got buyer's remorse. The most prominent name mentioned was Brooks Koepka. Have you sensed any of that? And by the way, is he finally healthy?
Yeah, I thought he was healthy. He won the Saudi event and looked pretty good doing it. But just recently he played in a international series event. That's sort of an elevated series event on the Asian tour. He went to Oman. My guess is LIV funds the international series, and some of these guys are being contracted to play those tournaments, and he missed the cut. That's a fairly weak field, and he missed the cut. That's not a great sign. I don't know if the problem is none of these guys are going to admit publicly that they're regretful. I just don't see that happening, because especially the ones who are under contract, and have a couple of years to go and have been paid a lot of money up front. It might be the case, but it's really probably a bad thing for them to say it. I'm not sure Koepka regrets it. He was in a tough spot in his career last year. He was injured a lot. His game had slipped. 2021. He had won in Phoenix, and then that was it. He kind of fell off, and I wonder if he just looked at the money and thought, I might not be very good ever again. So, the big test will be how do these guys do in the majors? Koepka's in the majors for a couple of years, and there's going to be some pressure on those guys, I think, to perform in that setting. And there'd be nothing better for LIV than to have one of their players win or certainly contend. We saw what a big deal it was a few weeks ago when Patrick Reed was in contention against Rory. There was a lot of intrigue because of that.
He's Bob Harig. He covers golf for Sports Illustrated. He's at the LIV event in Mexico. And remember, he authored the book 10 months ago, Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry. Well, it's every bit as fascinating now, and it's probably more of a rivalry now. So pick it up if you want. It'd be a good Father's Day gift. You can follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Harig, Harig. Bob, as always, appreciate your time and your insight. Enjoy your week.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. Have a great day.
Bob Harig, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. Oh, I think the LIV needs to win a major this year. They need one of their golfers to win one of the four.
It would be monstrous for that league if they did.
And if they could win the first one, then, literally, if you're Norman and the golf gods say one of your guys is going to win one of the four majors, he'd be like, oh, then let's do the Masters right out of the chute.
Every time. Every time.
By the way, the Open Championship came out yesterday and said, yeah, the LIV guys that are eligible are going to play. Yeah, we're not changing that. It's open. That's kind of in our name. So I think we've put that to bed.
Miller and Moulton, that's our name. Halfway home, Pat Kirwan to talk all things National Football League on the other side. Thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com. Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
We're listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Good morning, Pat.
Good morning. Good morning, fellas. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Great.
Everything good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get done with her surgery, and she looks like she's going to be okay.
Good.
She'll come up. She's not like, I've had 4 scopes and a real surgery, and she's like had her first. Although she's had an ankle and a shoulder, so it's not like she hasn't been under the knife with Dr. Nicholas before. But she wants to come to New York to do it because she just trusts one guy.
Understood.
Yeah. Even Dr. Nicholas said, I can get you someone down in Naples.
Yeah, Dr. Garrett's pretty good.
Yeah.
But
He's hard to get to now.
I know.
That's the problem with him. With Steven, I just call him and say, can she come on Tuesday? Yeah, she can come Tuesday. Like that part of it I do like. I got to find a hand doctor. I don't know one down there. And I have Dr. Chow looking for me, but he hasn't found anyone yet. Anyone know a doctor that does hand surgery?
I do not. Although let me check with my wife because she's a surgeon, with a veterinary surgeon. She had something. She went to see somebody. Let me find out who she used.
Great. What's going on, fellas? Kind of quieting down here, David. You're not like flying anymore. You're just home.
Nope. No, it's kind of nice, actually.
Yeah, I bet you it is. I looked around Saturday and Sunday and had no idea what to do. God, I'm sitting here staring at nothing. So I went to that hockey tournament up in north of Tampa, just a little bit north of Tampa. They came from Slovakia there. I was telling David when I sent him a note. They were from everywhere, California, Alaska, you name it. They were all there.
Was your grandson playing in it?
The second guy, not the oldest one.
Okay.
The oldest one has got some of the tournament he's going to, but the second guy was playing in it. They got beat by Slovakia 7-4 or something. And the California team, Sacramento, I think it was. They were the best team there. They beat the Slovakia team, but it was fun. Our guys won a couple games, and God, they play a lot of hockey though. I feel like, how the hell does my daughter and her husband do this every weekend with 3 guys?
Yeah,
Yeah. So this weekend coming up, last thing is that the championship for all 3 of them, and they're whatever the world of it's Pennsylvania, Connecticut, that whole crowd. So each guy's going to play 5 games, and there's 3 of them. That's 15 hockey games on Saturday and Sunday. You can't even make that up.
I will say the U.S. Hockey Association does, for years now, has urged their guys to play other sports.
Yeah.
That they've said, don't do hockey year round.
No.
Play other sports.
All my guys play lacrosse because it's hockey on grass.
Right.
Perception, they understand it immediately.
But I will say the U.S. Hockey Association is the only U.S. official sports league that is saying that.
Well, I wish they'd all say it.
I know, totally.
I get a lot of NFL players come on and talk about the other sports they played. And there's correlations in certain sports. Offensive linemen and throwing a shot and discus, defensive linemen wrestling. I mean, you can go right down the list.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the 8 o'clock hour, third and final hour. Miller and Moulton in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. The bonus hour awaits at the top of the hour in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan joining us at this day in time because he's got a busy travel week. Pat joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. How are you?
I'm doing fine. And, football per se is over. We're going to the combine on Tuesday and turn the page and let's get going on the draft stuff and free agency and contracts and all that stuff. So it's one of my favorite times of the year, actually. And a lot of the guys who do shows that are players, they don't know what to do now. There's no games to talk about, but for people in my end of the business, it's a very, very busy time.
All right, well, let's start with the franchise tags that are coming and quarterbacks that haven't been signed, like this guy in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. Pat, what's your gut tell you that's going to happen with Lamar?
Franchise tag, and I would not put the exclusive tag on him. I think we're at the point where the non-exclusive, which is $32 million and change. I just round these things off. I don't need to 0.4 and all that junk, but I would be interested if I were the Ravens and finding out who would put a deal on the table for him that's worth more than I'm willing to pay. And then maybe all of a sudden 2 first-round picks looks pretty good for a quarterback who's been injured 2 years in a row. And nothing makes me laugh harder than when I hear the new OC has got all these dynamic plans. Lamar is what Lamar's going to be. He's an athletic, run-around quarterback. He is never going to become a pocket passer that's going to throw for 5,000 yards. When I hear all this stuff about the things they have in mind, like no one else thought of these before, they all thought of them. But so, Todd, if you get a chance to coach him, you're going to find yourself letting him do whatever he does best if you want to win games.
Do you think the NFL can basically keep itself in check? What we often see, Pat, is the salaries at a position keep going up. And you end up with, say, the 8th best quarterback in the league making more than the 1st and 2nd best quarterback in the league because they did their deal 2 years later. Mahomes and Allen have set a bar. Deshaun Watson, then, Rodgers is out there in the low 50s, but he's only got a year or 2 left that he's going to play most. Mahomes and Allen are in the mid-40s. Deshaun's deal was 46, and the league's already treated that as if it's the aberration. Daniel Jones wants 40 plus million. Jalen Hurts is going to want Deshaun Watson money, and he can certainly make the case he's worth it. Never mind Burrow and Herbert and the like. Do you think the league can discipline itself and look at Joe Burrow and say, dude, I can't pay you more than Patrick Mahomes. I don't know what to tell you. Or do you think that they're going to make 50, 55, 60 million in the next 3 years?
Well, they can't discipline themselves because that's called collusion. And they're not going to have any meetings to go over, let's not pay anybody, or let's slow the number down. We had this conversation when I first met you guys about the 20 million barrier. Quarterbacks making 20 million. Then it was quarterbacks making 30 million. Now we broke into the 40 million. I think there's 8 of them scheduled to make over 40 million or more. And then a couple more hovering around in the 36 to 39 million range. So no, they're not going to be able to handle it. And David and Mark, we've talked about this 100 times. Go look at percentage of the cap. A $36 million deal is about 16% of the cap, give or take a few million, because there's some fees on some of the guys aren't going to have the full cap, and some will have a little more. You move to 17% of the cap, and it's about 38 million a year. So what are the agents asking for without using that terminology? They're asking for 20% of the cap, 19% of the cap. No one's done a percentage of cap deal, and I think the league doesn't like that idea, but they can't even send out a memo to you and say, don't do a deal percentage of cap. But for the three of us, we've solved this problem before by just going percentage of the cap. Every time the cap, now the player, it doesn't have an outdated deal like the deals you just referenced. If Mahomes had a deal that was 18% of the cap, as the cap went up, so would his deal. But we have never done that. So do I think they like Steve Bisciotti, the owner of Lamar Jackson's potential contract, is the first one to speak out against Deshaun Watson's deal. Not because of the amount of money, but more because it was fully guaranteed. And we're still not going to get there. Fully guaranteed deals, I don't think that's going to happen. But we'll get to 80% guaranteed, and that'll make people cringe. But I will quote Kevin Colbert. When Kevin had to deal with Roethlisberger, I said, man, how are you going to get that deal done? He goes, isn't it a nice problem to have? He goes, not every team has a guy. Now, 16 teams, in my mind, have a quarterback question. Some full-blown starter, other guys, who's the quality backup. There's a lot of 16. Half this league is sitting around this week thinking, what are we going to do about our quarterback situation? So it's a universal problem, and there aren't enough guys to satisfy all those teams. So consequently, guys are going to make 45 million. And I think that the Daniel Jones piece, last one here, it's hard to swallow that back in October you thought you'd sign up at 25 million. Well, that perception was a misleading to yourself. Why do you even think that? He was playing well enough. So when you didn't put the option year on him, you painted this picture. He then did what you hoped he would do, play well. You wanted to keep him. Then he played well enough that you now have to think about 40 million. And I think if I was the player and the team, I would settle on a 3-year deal that averaged 38 million a year. So cosmetically, we didn't get to 40. He'll be back at the bargaining table in 2 years. That's what I would be doing.
All right, for the team, you would do it. Would Daniel Jones sign that deal? Would you advise him to sign that deal for that kind of money?
Yeah, because I would rehearse with him the reality of the franchise tag. Yes, the second I give it to you, you can sign it, and it's guaranteed for 32 million. And yes, if you don't get hurt and play well, you'll get one next year. So your 2-year total 71 million. So why would I give him something that's going to average, I don't know, 38, 39 million? Because it's close to 100 million for 3 years, and I'm prepared to guarantee the whole thing. So is he leaving 30 million on the table now and hoping that he plays 32 games well and stays healthy? That's what I'm throwing at him. Job security and health security. And the agents, they're never anywhere to be found when the player gets hurt and had turned down that deal. Look, Lamar turned down a lot of money. Maybe he's lost some of his stake in this business. So I think you can sell that to him. Plus, I'd like to tell Daniel Jones, you were lousy until you met Dabo. and you think someone out there is paying you that, I think they're betting that no one's out there. But a team like Atlanta that needs a quarterback that's going to power run the game. Atlanta should take Barkley and Daniel Jones in a division with no quarterbacks.
Well, and they're one of the few teams that could afford to do something like that. Do you think, like Jalen Hurts, what's he going to get? And is that the new mold of quarterback? Because there's going to be a guy in this draft who's going to get compared to Lamar, to Jalen Hurts, to Josh Allen. And it's this Anthony Richardson guy from Florida.
I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Well, and I think Miller and Moulton are in the same cab as you. But, you know, I mean, think about what we said about the Eagles with the 50th pick of the draft 3 years ago with Jalen Hurts.
Oh, excuse me. You didn't clarify that. If you told me 50th pick with Anthony, now you're talking. But first round, no way. He's going to need 2 years minimum to develop. You want to tell me I can take that guy in the third round? That's a whole different problem, and it's an easy one to do.
What do you think Hurts is going to get? Like you just said, you think Daniel Jones is going to get 3 years, 38.
Well, I think that's what he should take.
Okay.
I'll ask one question to Mark. He's the neutral observer here. Mark, who would you rather have, Hurts or Jones?
Well, Hurts.
Okay, $40 million a year.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it too, because I live in the world of percentage of cap. How much of my cap is the quarterback taking? And I go through these numbers all the time with every position, and you'd like to think of your quarterback under 20%. You do not want your top 3 contracts to be in the 40% of the cap. That's why guys can't, field a full football team. If you leave 60% of the cap for the other 50 players, you're going to have lousy backups. And the first time you have injuries, we're going to be saying, look at that. The season fell apart overnight.
And remember, the cap's in the 226, 228 range. So 40 million a year is in the 17 to 18% range of the cap.
Right. And that's why I've been talking about percentage of cap. Well, I know the bean counters and the guys who do negotiating, they think about that all the time. We just never talk about it because they don't forecast the growth of the cap in the contract, right? Deals make some go up, some actually go down a little bit. But the truth is, if you just did percentage of cap, not to wear that story out, you'd be on top of it.
Oh, there's no doubt, and the teams aren't there yet. But obviously, you're pointing out that many of them are looking at it in that way. When you look at the Eagles and how much do they change when they sign Hurts? I mean, how much will that change their dynamic? Because they've got to get that done. I know it doesn't affect next year, but they've got a lot of players to sign. How much does the Hurts contract weigh over what else they have to get done?
Philly's been one of the best teams all the way back to Joe Banner, one of the best teams in the NFL of forecasting a cap. Back in the 90s, I learned a lot from Joe Banner and how he looked at the cap. And he was he could tell you, here's our cap in 5 years from now. He would know it, and he would know how many things he still had to do. Now, he had injuries along the way, I get it, but that guy was always looking down the road. Many of us, when they started the salary cap, were looking at this year and maybe next year, but this year, and then you had to scramble again. New Orleans, they're still looking at it the way I looked at it. But they're not the kind of team that can do that anymore. So I think a lot of guys look down the road. The coach doesn't care about down the road, by the way. Here's the problem that the contract GM has. The coach doesn't care about the cap. He needs to win this year. He doesn't want to get fired. The agents never cared about the roster. They don't care if you win one game. They just want to get the most for their guys.
He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show, and he joins us sometimes twice a week, most times twice a week, sometimes once a week, like he's doing right now. Courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and over a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. We'll have more with Pat on the other side. The new business year in the NFL begins 3 weeks from today. What's going to happen between now and then? More with Pat.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Get a fine running machine in there, you two.
Trying. Tell you what, we need to get out fishing, Pat. Has your guy been out at all?
He has been with his wife. They didn't go maybe just 20 miles out. He said there was fish all over the place.
That's what I'm hearing.
I really would like to. I just gotta, I always used to think, well, the Super Bowl is my landmark for freedom. No, the combine's 10 days later now.
Right.
And I'm gonna be there the whole week. So I'm going in Tuesday morning, and I don't get out of there till Saturday night.
Oh, so are you doing a Saturday show from there too?
Yes.
Oof. Still doing 6 days.
Yeah. I think yesterday, because my wife's surgery was the first day I was off since, I don't know, June. Somewhere around there. No, it's, I like the combine. I've been working on it. Yesterday, I was in a waiting room of the hospital for 5 hours. I did most of the offensive line stuff that I had to do. So I would have never spent 5 hours on this line. I would have stopped every hour and said, "Oh, this sucks." I just kept going.
Where are you seeing depth? I know you're starting to look.
Offensive line.
Yeah.
That's why it takes so long. There's so many guys that are draftable for starters. Let me just get to my list so far, things I've done. There's running backs, and you can get a decent running back middle of the draft. And
we had another guy on a couple weeks ago who thought you could even on day 3 get a good running back.
I agree with that. I really do agree with that. And even like that Illinois kid, I talked about him before, the Gray kid at Oklahoma. Those kind of guys I think are going to be there in round 4. Yeah. It really asks you why. I know the Texas running back's phenomenal, but why would you take him in the first round when you can get a running back?
Well, it's why there are a lot of people doing the, is he the guy who's going to be top 10 on people's boards and falls to the mid-20s?
I think that's who he is. That's a really good way.
Is it possible he falls to the Giants at 25? I actually think it's possible.
Yeah, if he got past 15, I might jump up for him. That's where I think someone will say, "Oh, he's not going to get to 25, but he could get to
like
18 to 20."
Detroit at 18, Tampa at 19. I mean, if you're Tampa, Todd Bowles want to run it. I mean, he's got Rashad. Is that White?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, who I like a lot. I think he's going to end up being the number one back. But this Robinson kid could fall in his lap from Texas at 19.
Yep. I know. I agree with you. But so there's an example where the running back world is good enough that you don't need to jump up and do that. I don't think the receiver group looks very good to me so far. I don't see any superstar. I like Jordan Addison. I knew him in the Pitt thing, but he's another kid that look, there's a lot of 5'11", 6-foot receivers. If you're looking for a big guy, again, you're going to be in Texas. You might be in one or two other places, but most of these receivers are not the big ones. And a lot of guys want a big X. They want a guy they can throw fade routes to in the red zone, and they're not looking at that. They're not seeing it either. A couple guys I don't like that everyone seems to like. I do not like Osiris Torrance, the Florida lineman. Ugh. And people are talking about him in the first round. That is a boom or bust for me. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. He basically got his ass kicked every day. He couldn't stop fucking anything coming at him. It was like unbelievable. I go, why did he? First off, I wrote down, why did he come here? He's not helping himself. So that kind of stuff. But I love the Syracuse lineman as a second rounder. I love the 2 Ohio State guys in the first round. Skoronski, maybe the third or fourth tackle. He'll be good. He'll play, for 10 years, easy. I was working on I asked you guys this last year. You guys hit it right on the head. How many guys are getting the franchise tag?
Coming back.
Saved by the voice of commercials. I listened to him on the commercials.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Seth Everett to join us in less than 20 minutes. Shelby Mast will join us in our bonus hour 1 hour from now. We'll talk about who's in, who's out, who's getting seated where. How about them Canes? Thank you very much. Could they be a 3 seed tied for first in the ACC? I think they're a Final Four sleeper. We'll talk to Shelby about that 1 hour from now. Our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers.
Pat, I know it's a little, inside football, but help me out here. We were talking about Aaron Rodgers yesterday, and I know you think he's staying in Green Bay, and I get the reasons why. If they trade him, how the hell do they pull this off with the cap?
Well, it'll be devastating to the cap. And by the way, they need other things. So it's really the same as the Raiders, right? The Raiders can talk all they want about the young guy they have. But I think deep down inside, both teams don't believe they have the guy that's going to do what Rodgers did or Favre did. So even what Carr did. So I think those guys are going to have to bite the bullet on the cap and then have to create space to go get a quarterback. Even if it's a guy like Garoppolo, someone's going to have to take Garoppolo after they get done with this. Here's what I think about Carr, because it kind of makes me think of him. He has this little window of opportunity where there's no competition. No one knows if Rodgers is available. Garoppolo, you can't do yet. I don't understand why. Now, maybe the Jets didn't offer him anything. Who knows? But if I were the Jets or the next team, which I think should be Atlanta, I would be offering him now. Why was he going to wait? I would be telling you want to get into business here with Rodgers and Garoppolo? You really want to get into that world where now I have other choices? You're the only choice right now. Go negotiate a big deal and get yourself locked up.
New NFL year begins 3 weeks today, and since Carr has been released, he can negotiate a deal between now and then. The free agents don't become fully free until 3 weeks today, so that's what Pat is alluding to in terms of Carr has the advantage that these other quarterbacks do not. Very quickly, it's a $99+ million cap hit if they trade him under his current deal. So is this going to be one of those things where before they trade him, they completely restructure his contract? He was scheduled to get in cash $53 million this year. So he'll restructure the deal so that it's more cap friendly for Green Bay, but he'll still get his $53 million this year, right? That's probably what's going to have to take place. And the Packers cap hit maybe will be what? More like the $53 million instead of the 99, but they'll have to defer for a year or two. Like Brady's costing Tampa Bay $35 million this year. Rodgers is probably, Pat, if he gets traded, going to cost Green Bay in 24 and 25, 20 to 30 million.
Yep, that's the reality of the world we're in. If you have an elite quarterback that you want to walk away from most of these contracts, why is Carr free? Because they owed him $40 million on the day after Valentine's Day. So when you do those deals, do you really think through all the ramifications if he's not here? My owner used to make me go through that with him. All right, what if we're going to get rid of him? Because cutting a guy and trading a guy will end up being the same thing. I'll add death in there as well. If a guy dies, you get the same acceleration. So why would Rodgers help them out in order for them to get compensation in the trade? That's why Rodgers, in a lot of ways, controls the whole thing. And if I'm Rodgers, I was, no, you know what? I think I'm coming back. Just pay me. What are they going to do then? Well, they're going to show him where his locker is.
You're damn right they are. I that's why the stories that are out there of they're sick of him and they're going to move on. They may be sick of him. I'm just trying to figure out how they move on.
Well, let me ask you this question because I got confronted with that on our show. Have the Packers officially made that statement, or is this hearsay from the media that they're done and sick? They're too smart to use words like they're fed up with him. They don't say things like that. You want that leaked out there, and then you're going to ask him to restructure his contract? That doesn't go together very well.
Well, no, the Packers are never going to say that publicly. Okay, this is just media members saying that at one point, apparently the GM said that offhanded to another GM at some point during the season. And then Bob McGill there, who's covered the Packers for 40 years, okay, he's saying, listen, trust my sources. The Packers desperately want to move on with him. They're fed up with him. So, yes, this is definitely, it's all coming from the media. The Packers would be foolish to ever say anything publicly. What I'm curious about, and Andrew Brandt, who was in Green Bay with the whole Rodgers-Favre thing, remember, Favre came back and Green Bay designated him the backup quarterback for like 3 days in practice.
Right.
Okay. And that's what I'm curious, Pat, could we literally have history repeat itself where if Rodgers goes, I'm coming back, and the Packers go, well, okay, but I don't know what to tell you. You're number 2.
Well, let's go back to the first example with Favre. I think Favre realized that this kid Rodgers is going to be pretty good, and his competitive juices started flowing. I don't think Rodgers looks at the guy that they're going to make number 1 and thinks anything like that. I think he knows that guy can't play. Rodgers will sit there and go, oh, for 3 days, good, I can climb another mountain. I'll be back,
Well, and I mean, in essence, when you look at, you mentioned Brady and having to take the hit in Tampa, is Tampa kind of where Green Bay will be in a year when Rodgers does retire, because Tampa's in that similar spot here where they need a quarterback, but they have no money to go get one.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, because this is when you build your team. This is when you lose your team. The summer is just rehearsal. Now, the fans that are listening to your show, the older fans, always remember camp is when you competed to make the team. Those days are over. All you got to do is look at the salary structures, and you knew who the 53 guys are. Give or take 5 guys, maybe it's special teamers. But, yeah, they're all going to be in this kind of – and in a lot of ways, the number goes up, but so does the cap. So, relatively speaking, didn't Elway do the same thing to Denver? Didn't they wait till June 1st, back when the June 1st meant something? What about Breeze? How did you get out for under Breeze's contract? So this has been going on forever. The numbers just sound astronomical now, but the cap's gone up along with it. So relatively speaking, it's about the same.
All right, let's play a game. We've got 2 minutes left. number of franchise tags. Okay. I feel pretty confident there's going to be at least 4 guys franchised. Okay. Where would you set the franchise tag over under number at, Pat?
1, 2, 3, 4 is the same number you have.
All right.
And I don't think it'll go over. I'll give you the names. You tell me tagged or not. Daniel Jones.
Well, either Jones or Barkley. I think the Giants.
One with the Giants.
Yeah, one with the Giants. I think Deron Payne gets tagged in Washington.
Yeah.
All right. I think Lamar gets tagged in Baltimore.
Correct.
And I think that Evan Ingram could get tagged in Jacksonville.
How about Orlando Brown?
Okay.
If I didn't put Evan Ingram in there, the tight end group is interesting. But if you put it in, it's a cheap tag, so that would make it 5 for me, because I think they're going to tag Orlando Brown again. Remember what the tag does? It's called a divorce. They just start the settlement 2 years earlier. How many guys get tagged that ever sign a long-term deal? Percentages are very low.
And that's why I'm going to go over on the over-under, Pat. Right? If we set it 4, 4.5, 5, I'm going to go over. I think there are a lot of interesting scenarios.
I'd go over 4.5, just because I think that there's always a special teamer that gets tagged. There's always a player or two you're not ready for that gets tagged.
Well, the names that I considered, Jordan Poyer, probably not, but I think that guy should be tagged. Tremaine Edmonds can't be tagged because the linebackers include the outside linebackers. So there's a nice inside linebacker, but his tag number is almost 21 million. So they can't tag him.
We're up against it time-wise. I'll throw Tony Pollard out there. Okay, 10 million is pretty cheap to keep Tony Pollard. He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today Show. His appearance brought to you by Pinchers.
Mark Miller from SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hi, Seth.
Good morning.
Thank you for the text. I don't know why I got my days confused.
All good. I just I saw it on Twitter, and then I didn't see it in the email, and I was like, maybe I missed the email. I was so confused.
Seth, did you watch any Champions League yesterday?
No, I did not, but I know about it, and I wasn't avoiding it. Yesterday was had to put sports with friends together, and I had to get it done before because I went to the Prudential Center for Devils Canadians.
Nice.
I didn't have time to watch any of that stuff.
No, that's a hockey sweater.
Yeah.
you guys discuss anything while I was gone?
No.
Yep. We have the solutions to world peace.
Okay. We have
Seth, we had 2 poll questions that are important.
Yesterday.
Do you like chicken wings? That's just a general. That's not the poll question. Okay. But can a chicken wing be too big?
Can be. If it's not cooked properly, it can be.
Thank you.
Yeah, I said
doesn't mean a big chicken wing is a bad thing. It just requires
Right. No,
special.
It was yes or no question, and there are variables. I said, by the way, that the answer is no flipping way, and if by chance over 50% of people said that yes, it can be too big, that I was leaving the country.
Wow.
So 49% apparently said that a wing could be too big. So that's how close I came to living in Norway.
Wow. This world has never been so divided.
No, it really hasn't. No. And then today's poll question, another hard-hitting one.
Yeah.
Do you eat in bed?
Oh, no.
Thank you.
No. Hard no. I don't even eat upstairs. No.
Does your wife eat in bed?
No. Well, like a Hershey Kiss or something. That's not food.
So nothing that could ever produce a crumb is what you're saying.
Yeah, the crumb is the key there.
This is the question that Mark is willing to leave the country on.
I feel really good about the vote right now, David. It's still a 2/3, 1/3 vote if people don't eat in bed.
Yeah. Our dog the other day threw up on the other side of the bedroom. I put the house up for sale.
Our dog has been on new. My wife's a veterinarian, so our dog and cats get incredible care. But the dog had a biopsy done on this skin thing it has, so it's on new antibiotics and it's been throwing up. So I've been cleaning dog puke for like the last 3 days, and I am not. There's nothing more offensive to me than vomit, and dog vomit's maybe worse.
The worst.
Oh. Yeah. I'm right there with you,
Wow.
Seth.
Well
right
said.
there with you.
Well said, Seth. Right there.
I just saw on Twitter that Joe Buck voiced the eulogy for Tim McCarver. That's very nice.
It's nice that he and Fox could come to that arrangement.
That's
also.
very, very nice. He quoted Rob Manfred. That's the one criticism of it, but other than that, I think it's brilliant. Very classy.
Well, Joe was effusive in his praise as to what McCarver did for him. That
sure.
Being 27 years old and doing the World Series, and
absolutely
a bunch of people rolling their eyes. But if McCarver gave him the blessing and told people, "No, he's good, he'll be fine," then the baseball world accepted him.
Sure. That's really cool that he did that. I wonder who asked who. Did Joe ask to do it, or did Fox ask Joe to do it?
I'll find out.
Yeah. I'm just curious.
I will say if you're Fox.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 22 minutes before the hour. It's our final segment in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. The bonus hour begins at the top of the hour. This is the final Wednesday in February. It's also 43 years ago today that the Miracle on Ice happened. USA 4, USSR 3 in Lake Placid. And with that, on this day and time, we welcome Seth Everett to the show. He of the Three Great Podcasts, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and TechStream. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. How old were you when that happened?
1980, I was 6. but I didn't see it. I know I didn't see it because the first hockey game I ever saw was in '82, the Devils' first game. I definitely didn't see the Miracle on Ice. Absolutely. I know about it from history and reading about it, but I've seen it in delay. But when I was 6, I didn't see it.
Okay. But it's one of those moments in which, if you're old enough,
sure,
you do remember where you were when.
Oh, of course.
And I was fooled. I was one of those that, as a young kid, I didn't know it was on tape delay.
Oh, you thought it was live?
I thought it was live.
Good. The old expression, if you haven't seen it, it's new to you.
And that's what it was.
And the only reason
the boat sinks in Titanic.
The only reason I knew it was on tape was
You'd already been in broadcasting for 15 years?
Please stop it. All right.
I wanted to be even. I just wanted to make it even.
I'm old. I'm not that old. All right. I was 6 years away from starting my career. Thank you. All right. But it was on ABC. ABC had the Olympics, and the local main sports anchor was Warner Wolf, who resides in Southwest Florida now. And ABC did a special newscast from 7:30 to 8. And sports was near the end of the newscast and leading into the Olympics. And we had ABC on. And Warner said, hey, the game's already been played. If you don't want to know the score, turn away. And his thing was he used to have these big cards and he would write the score. It'd be like Mets 3, Phillies 1. He'd show you the score and then he'd throw the card out and say, let's go to the videotape. Well, he couldn't show any highlights.
Right.
Okay. But I ran out of the room.
Yeah.
Because he said, if you don't want to know, look away. And I ran out of the room and came back like 30 seconds later. And my mom was like, do you want to know? And I went, no.
That's impressive. Warner Wolf, have you guys seen him recently?
We've not seen him recently. We haven't had him on in a while.
Okay. He screamed. He screamed at me so loud because I knocked papers down. On Saturdays at ESPN in New York, his show preceded mine, and there was no place to put your stuff. So I had come in and I put a bunch of papers on the desk and I knocked something over. And the next segment, he came out and screamed at me like I had stole his cookies. He was so angry and so mad. He sounded like an absolute lunatic.
All righty then. We'll bring Warner on here. Last time we talked to Warner, we had an in-depth pickleball discussion. Okay,
really?
He was all in 2 years before they started the professional league.
If Warner Wolf likes it, pickleball's stupid.
Oh, you're something. You're many years away from the pickleball courts, although it's a popularity is growing rapidly.
I saw it. I went to go play tennis the other day, and I saw some people playing it on the other court. It makes no
Hold
sense.
on a second.
You
went to go play tennis. Is that allowed in this country anymore? I mean, honestly, do we even play tennis recreationally in America anymore?
Yeah, there's this great place that you don't have to be a member, so it's just you sign up on an app. It's fantastic. So I play whenever I can. If I can get out, in the middle of the day, they have these clinics from like 1 to 2:30. It's awesome.
I'm curious, you're into the tech thing and with TechStream, obviously, but the golf world yesterday made their announcement of their virtual golf tour they're going to play. Do you think any of the, you followed some of the esports. Do you think any of these have any staying power whatsoever?
Sure. It's not, we're not the demographic for it, but yeah, those things are very, very popular.
So you think a golf
esports rival regular sports? It just doesn't get the coverage that we know from traditional media because it doesn't need it. It's all on Twitch and stuff like that.
Okay, when you say it rivals traditional sports, in what way?
I would say, without having numbers in front of me, I would say the numbers are, if typical, for example, for the NHL, just use the NHL. For typical NHL audience, well, we're talking 800,000 people on a typical week. For NHL 23, it's probably 250,000. Rivals. It's a chunk of the audience. So yeah, I think people will check virtual and all that stuff. There are people that's the only way they consume the NBA. Always. By the way, if you guys are hurting for a topic, I got one.
Well, trust me, we're
did
not
you
hurting
hear
for the topic, but what
No,
do
I
you
know.
got?
Did you hear Adam Silver at the All-Star game say that he didn't think load management was a big deal?
Oh yeah,
He
Talked about it
doubled
yesterday.
down. He said that's not a thing. Are you out of your mind?
Well, here's what's fascinating about that. And certain leagues don't do this. I have satellite radio. I listen to all the league's channels. All right.
You're
I'm
the
that
guy.
much. Yeah, I'm that much of a goober. Okay. And there's very little criticism of the NFL on NFL radio.
Right.
There's very little criticism, but there is some of Major League Baseball and MLB radio. There's
Since I
almost
left.
never a negative word said about the NHL on NHL radio. NBA radio has 3 shows from 7A until 6P that are destroying the NBA and its product on a daily basis. And the NBA is allowing it to take place. I give Adam Silver a lot of credit for not shutting down. Like, their franchise show is Frank Isola and Brian Scalabrine in the morning, and they rerun it.
Yeah.
And they are destroying the NBA on a daily basis for its product.
Well, it's a complicated solution, okay? Because what Silver did say is there's medical science that shows that giving these guys days off, periodically throughout the season, helps them physically. Of the 24 All-Stars, 19 took games off. 3 of them had major injuries, so that that's a push. The idea that it's nothing is ridiculous. And so what Silver has to acknowledge is it's a thing. We don't know how to solve it, or it's a thing and we're addressing it. Look at Roger Goodell and concussions. Look at Gary Bettman and streaming. Look at all the way commissioners walk the line of all these problems. Acknowledge that that's a real problem. And to be defiant for a guy that smart is foolhardy.
Well, David Sampson was on our show yesterday and said it's just negotiations 101. They're working on a labor deal. He is not going to come out and address it publicly of something that they're going to be addressing behind the scenes. That was his explanation. He's been involved in negotiations like that. I don't know.
That's fine. If that's the reason,
that I can give you of what I'm thinking. I'm just going by someone who's been.
And he's a great politician because he didn't look like he was posturing. He looked genuinely like, what do you mean? Why is this a problem? I was so disconcerted with what Silver had to say.
No,
he's still my white whale as far as Sports with Friends is concerned.
I grant you that, though. I mean, he doubled down. If he's lying,
double down.
He's exceptional at it.
Right.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Because he gave you the look you straight in your eye, lean forward some more.
Problem. What problem?
And not blink. See, that's the key when you lie. You can't blink.
Right. Are you guys watching that show, Poker Face?
I have not.
It's tremendous. She has like this supernatural ability. She can tell when anybody's lying. And it's fantastic. It's a superpower we'd all want. It's a great show.
Well, Seth, with all due respect, 99% of people lie. I mean, that's not a superpower.
No. She can tell when people are lying.
Yeah, but Seth, okay.
Like for murders and stuff.
Seth, when you ask someone a direct question, do you assume they're telling the truth or not?
No, I always assume they're lying.
There you go. You're
Unless
right more than half the time. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Mark, when you ask people a direct question, do you assume they're telling the truth or lying?
I assume that they're telling the truth.
Wow.
No.
You're just a better human being than we are.
I don't know about
Not
that.
really.
Maybe I'm just a really naive human being.
Nah.
But
You're
when
not
I
naive.
talk to people, there's no sense of, there's not much to lie to me about. Now, in another lifetime, there was probably lots to lie to me about. At this point, I talked to 7 people, and I hope to God the 7 people that I still talk to aren't lying to me, for crying out loud.
You know what the problem is? You have a spouse who doesn't lie. She's too good of a person. So now you think everybody's like your wife. They're not, okay? Just to let you know. Back to the real world. The rest of us are lying, skeeving, blankety blanks. Adjust. I digress.
Keeping the faith in humanity, Miller and Moulton, along with Seth Everett on this Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
I got nervous. I saw on Twitter that I thought the Devils got Timo Meyer. Sorry. I would drop everything for that.
I know. It's going to happen, by the way.
That's the rumor.
All right. Devils are going to make a big move. They've got the cap space. They'll need it, not just for this year, but future years.
They got to sign him. Yeah. Yep.
All right. Actually, the Eastern Conference in the NHL, Seth, is going to be a bloodbath.
And the NBA. I mean, the shift of powers happened in the NBA that it's better on the East now. And obviously in hockey, it's better in the East. The playoffs are going to be incredible. And you two can fight between Devils and Rangers when it starts.
Well, I will say this is where we're very different people. Okay. Like Seth is 9 years old when it concerns his hockey team. And he's very immature. Okay. I don't care if the Devils do well or not. When they play the Rangers, I want the Rangers to win. I'm a Rangers fan, but I don't hate the Devils. Seth every morning wakes up and sticks the Rangers doll that he has.
When the Winnipeg Jets, who we beat on Sunday night, when they beat the New York Rangers, all I wanted to say to all my Ranger fan friends, I went, "Let's go Jets." Jets, 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 Jets.
I mean, that's the difference between us.
Yeah, that's fun.
Honestly. When it concerns the Devils, his hatred of the Rangers and some other teams, he's 9.
Yeah, I hate the Rangers almost as much as I like the Devils.
That's awesome. Seth, I mean, I'm not being smart. That's awesome that you still can have that angst. I brought it up yesterday because I now know the coach of the Colorado Avalanche. He's someone I've known for a lot of years.
Yeah.
I can't hate them anymore. As a Red Wing fan, I hate the Avalanche, but now Jared Bednar is their coach. I don't hate them. I want him to be successful. I like the guy. It makes it really hard. And the fact that you can keep that angst, I'm proud of you, Seth.
Well, I was at a funeral about 3 weeks ago, and I found out that through a distant relative. Like, I mean, this is not an exaggeration. This is honest to God truth. A distant relative is Adam Fox of mine. We are like 12th cousins twice removed.
For those that don't know, he's an elite defenseman in the NHL, and he happens to play for the Rangers.
Yep. And somebody at the funeral at the cemetery came over to me and said, "When are you getting Adam Fox on your podcast?"
And you said,
and it sounded exactly like that for the record. Anybody wondering, it's exactly how it sounded.
I said, in the off season, maybe.
He's Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, and Text Stream. All right, we got like 90 seconds. Go.
Sports with Friends is the outstanding investigative reporter, Lisa Guerrero, longtime sportscaster. Now she's in Inside Edition. She's won a bunch of journalism awards. She has a new book out detailing her time in sports. It's pretty enlightening. Hall of Justice is reviewing Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. And TechStream is a really funny thing that the White House made Elon Musk change all the Tesla charging stations to universal chargers. Ha 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 ha. Because that's a big deal. If you're driving down the road and you go to a Tesla charging station and you have a Subaru, you should be able to charge your car. That's TechStream. There, did I get it in 90 seconds?
You did. Even less. That was very well encompassed there. Good job, Seth.
Crushed it.
Yeah, Lisa Guerrero is really cool. Great stories.
Well, yeah, and actually her accounts of her experience on Monday Night Football are frightening, actually.
Yeah.
Can you, as we go in our final seconds, could you do that relative again? Who told you about Adam Fox?
Let me tell you, I'd like you to talk to my cousin's nephew's brother's friend, Adam Fox. He's Adam Fox of the New York Rangers. You know, he was an all-star.
That's Seth Everett. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett.
He's our all-star.
I texted my daughter. I said, I think we're related to Adam Fox. That's all I wrote.
And she hasn't talked to you since.
Nope.
Miller and Moulton. The bonus hour is next.
Napa Auto Parts and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6, and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
The Pac-12 is going to end up on Apple TV.
Well, CBS and Turner dropped out. And I think ESPN had already dropped out. I don't see where Fox, ESPN and Fox did that deal last year with the Big 12.
Right.
The Big 12 took their 30-something million a year guaranteed and just did the deal. Because basically the Big 12 is trying to say we're number 3 financially. I think they get a little bit more per school than the ACC is doing right now. It's close. And I got to give the new Big 12 commissioner credit. He basically said, we're going to get our deal done and leave the Pac-12 high and dry. We don't think there's room for 5 deals. There may only be room for 4.
But like Seth was just talking, that Poker Face looks like an interesting show. It's got a good cast. I've seen that, and I'm guessing that's just on, I think it's on Paramount, but I don't think it's on Paramount Plus or Peacock rather. I don't think it's on Peacock. Yeah, I think it's on Peacock. I don't know if I have to pay for that. There's so many things out there. I don't know. I'm confused of what I have to pay for and what I don't to get shows. Have you seen that show, Poker Face? Are you aware of it, Felipe? That's a no.
What is it again?
Poker Face is the name of the show. It's
What's it on again? Sorry.
Peacock.
I think I've seen a commercial about it.
Is it Peacock?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just about to tell you guys something.
Was it about Zion's shoes?
No.
It's on Peacock. Okay. Adam, it's a streaming service. How could it interfere with anything?
Oh, David, it's out. I did not realize it's out. Big stuff in the softball world. The snack list is out. Probably the most important list that we have.
Are you juice box boy?
No, parents are responsible for snacks. Every kid's responsible for a different game.
Okay.
That's the way it works. Okay, so it's free with ads. All right. That's fine. That's what I don't like about Hulu either. I pay for Hulu, but I don't pay for Hulu Plus or whatever it is, and I still have to watch ads. Drives me nuts.
So true. It's like paying for Spotify and still watching commercials. We're coming back.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this final Wednesday of February. Year is flying by. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Shelby Mast to join us in 20 minutes' time. The bracketologist for USA Today. He of the bracketwag.com site. We think it's the best one. We really do. In terms of every day or night, he is updating it. Who's in, who's out, what line they're on. Very easy to read and understand. He lists the teams in order too. Like, so you know first four out, and he lists them in order so you know who's, next. And I don't know. We just love it.
I found it the easiest to navigate. Of all the bracket sites out there, I don't know if he's the best. He's as good as any of them. I just find his site the easiest to navigate and the easiest to get information on quickly. And as David said, he's updating it daily this time of year.
And I want to ask him about the Canes, who won their 7th straight last night. They're tied for first in the ACC. I think they're a sleeper Final Four team. They've got a veteran backcourt, and they can score. And so, I'm actually – like, Mark, I feel better about Miami than I do Houston. Houston may be the best defensive team in the country, but the game in the tournament where you can't put the ball in the ocean even when you're standing in it, that's usually what derails you when you're a good team. Miami is probably not going to have one of those games. You might beat them. You might be better. But remember, they went to the Elite Eight last year. They had a lead on Kansas at the half. And then the Jayhawks just whooped them in the second half in the region final. But, I mean, the core of this group's coming back to do it again. He can coach. Take a look at his tournament record.
There's no doubt that he can coach, David. There's no doubt. And you're right. I'll tell you the team, and I know they lost to Texas Tech recently, a team that I think is starting to play a lot better. And I know, their coach left with all the controversy at the end of the season. Texas is starting to find themselves, and they're another team that can score points.
Man, they whacked Iowa State last night.
Well, Iowa State's one of those teams like Houston, not as good. But when Iowa State struggles offensively, it can be a painful watch. I don't think they'll do anything in the tournament. They may win a game, they may win 2, but of the Big 12 teams, Iowa State's the one I've got the least faith in because they can't score.
Like right now, wasn't Tennessee number 1 in the country for a moment? I know they got as high as 2. I thought they were number 1 for a week. But, Mark, Tennessee's ranked right around where Miami is, depending on the poll. All right, right now, Tennessee or Miami in the NCAA tournament, who goes further? And I know you got to see the bracket and all that, but right now, $20, Tennessee or Miami?
I think Miami. Tennessee's been struggling. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. That's obviously they can right the ship between now and when the tournament starts, but I don't like teams that are struggling in February.
Well, and I don't like teams who can, every now and then you could leave Tennessee alone on the court and they just can't score. And I don't like teams like that in the tournament. They scare the blank out of me. So, as you pointed out, Miami hits their free throws. They seemingly can score 75 against anybody. Take a look, by the way, historically. Basically, you got to average over 75 points a game if you're going to win the national championship.
It's quite frankly why I wouldn't have any Big Ten team winning the national championship. They don't score well enough in that league. They still play a style of basketball that the rest of the world quit playing 10 years ago. And I know Purdue's got the big, and with him, they can do great things. They got one kid that I think shoots 3-pointers really well, but I've seen him get really cold also. Lawyer, I think his name is. And I don't trust anybody in the Big Ten. Purdue, I trust the most. But I can't trust a team in that conference to win a national championship. They don't score enough, David.
Well, here's the funny thing. Are we going to give Northwestern another couple of weeks? Or are we going to have to start talking about them the way we're talking about Miami? There's nobody
it's
playing.
So hard when you're
I know.
Northwestern.
I know. But listen, Chris Collins, their coach, came out the other day and said, listen, there are not 5 guys playing any better in this league than us right now. He said, you can think whoever you want is the best team in the league. He goes, that's fine. But, this is a head coach who came out. They beat what? Purdue, Indiana.
They beat Indiana. They
beat Iowa by 20.
Right. No, David, it's a remarkable story.
Yeah, because his job was on the line 3 months ago. Make no mistake about it. And now he's going to be like, well, extension or I'm leaving. It's up to you. Makes no difference to me. But Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Today, 43 years ago, tonight, started late afternoon, ended early evening, the Miracle on Ice. You may see or hear a little something about it today. It's one of those things.
Just the biggest sports moment in this country's history.
And it's difficult to imagine a scenario in which it would ever fall to number 2. That even the NFL and the Super Bowl is kind of like, no, we got to give you that one. No, you got that one. We wonder, if the U.S. men, okay, and it's not being sexist, but men's sports are bigger than women's, and besides, the women have already done this multiple times, including in this country. But, Mark, imagine the day, and this takes quite a leap of faith, but imagine the day that the U.S. men's soccer team wins the World Cup.
And even if it did, David, I don't think it has a chance to be number 1, given the political times that we were in the Cold War when beating the Soviets in this hockey game. I can't ever envision the team we would be playing in the final that would carry the weight of USA versus Russia in 1980.
Even though, and we both know, and we've said it many times, like this was actually the Friday night semifinal, if you will. Actually, it was a round robin. 4 teams emerged from the 2 groups into a round robin. The USSR had 2 points at the start of the round robin. The USA and Sweden each had a point, and Finland had 0 points. Why? The Soviets had beaten Finland, get 2 points for a win. USA and Sweden had finished tied. And technically, we were the second place team in our group. That's why we had to play the first place team in the other group. And it was scheduled for either 5 or 5:30 in Lake Placid. And the Olympics and ABC went to the Soviets and said, hey, can you move this to the second game, 8:30? And they went, no. I mean, first off, like a country would have that choice today.
Right.
The team who won Group A, they have the power here, not the Olympic, not the IOC.
Right. Let's make sure we get Finland, Sweden in prime time because that's the game everybody wants to watch.
And if you've ever heard Al Michaels or Ken Dryden talk about it, they had to stay and continue to broadcast Sweden, Finland,
of which no one was watching,
and the arena was 2/3 empty.
What is the great scene that was the giveaway that I wasn't smart enough at 10 years old to recognize is when Jim McKay's out in the streets setting up the broadcast, if you will, people are going crazy.
Bat blank crazy.
They're running around, jumping around. They've just beaten the Soviets. And he's trying to set up the game that they're running on tape delay.
And it's why, by the way, we had to beat Finland Sunday morning to win the gold. When we beat the Soviets, we got 2 points. We had 3 points. Sweden and Finland tied. So Sweden got a point. They and the Soviets had 2. Finland had 1. So you went into Sunday, Sweden and the Soviets, the U.S. and Finland, all the medals were up for grabs. I believe because of goal differential, if we had lost to Finland, the worst we could do was a bronze. Like, we couldn't go from winning it all to nothing. But when we were trailing 2-1 going to the third, we were staring a bronze right in the face, potentially. And that's why when we won, we got the 2 points. We had 5. The best the Soviets could do was get to 4. Hence, we won the gold.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to draw up a scenario where we're playing who in the World Cup final? China? I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, first off,
Russia again.
Right. What year do you envision this miracle happening, and then who are we most, animus towards at that time? And also, just imagine it happens in 2020. When's the next one in our country? It's the next one. It's 26, right? Okay. And since we're hosting, all right, because that obviously was part of the allure, we did this in our country at Lake Placid. I mean, who would we have to beat? Well, who are the number one soccer nations? The problem is we're not at war with any of them, are we?
Right. Beating England would be nice. We'd really enjoy it, but it wouldn't have the fever that it did with playing the Soviets. Beating Spain or France or Germany just doesn't have the same thing.
I mean, would we have to beat Brazil in the semis and England in the final? I mean, it's tough to line this sucker up. Do you think that could become number 2, though? Like, if the U.S. men were to ever win the World Cup, do you think it would become the second biggest sports thing that's ever happened in our country's history? Or do you think we would still look at, for me, Duke, Kentucky's the second greatest thing I've ever seen. The level of play, Kentucky shot 57% and lost. I mean, Hall of Famers, coaches, players. To me, that's outside of Lake Placid. That's the best damn thing that's ever happened in a sports world.
I could see where it could get really close, David. I really do, because what will have happened between now and then, the way we look at soccer will continue to change positively. The demands put on a team that really will not be able to meet expectations will be heightened by the time we get there, because that's the way we're ranked 10th in the world, but we think we're supposed to, or 20th in the world. We think we're supposed to be the best in the world. Right. So the pressure on this team would be there. I could see where it could have a shot at number 2, Maybe not to you, and maybe not to some, of our generation, but I could see where in Felipe's generation, it would be such a big deal that maybe it would vault up the list. Miller and Moulton. We'll switch gears and talk brackets next. Shelby Mast from Bracket Wag coming up on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So if you're ESPN, let's just say a year from now, NBC and you end up being the broadcast partners for the NBA. So Turner finishes out this year, they do next year, and then beginning with the 24-25 season, it's ESPN and NBC who are the two big broadcast partners. If you're ESPN, do you fire everybody and bring over the Turner guys? Because don't you think there would be a bidding war between the two networks to bring over Ernie and Charles and Shaq and Kenny?
Yeah, I'm wondering, I mean, can you get them all? If this Chuck thing on CNN's happening, are they looking for, are they already figuring out what their next deal is?
I mean, I'm guessing all of their contracts say that if they lose the rights to the NBA, they can leave. I mean, I can't imagine their agents not having that clause in the contract, because when they signed their deals, they all knew when the broadcast deal was up.
Right.
But I'm just saying, if you're ESPN, do you just fire everybody and bring them over?
I would, but I don't think ESPN will.
Yeah, I would. Here's my question, though, if you're the NBA. I mean, NBC doesn't have a cable channel.
I know.
So you'd be going from ESPN and Turner to ESPN and Peacock during the week? Or if you're NBC, are you going to start showing, because primetime programming is expensive. Or are you going to devote one of your nights, like Tuesday or Thursday night, and just say, screw it, we're showing the NBA?
It's possible, but I will tell you, David, you and I are obviously older and later to the streaming thing. I am starting to now, and I've got to figure out I got to buy something to get the rest of my TVs, because the only TV I can do it on is with my PlayStation. TV in the bedroom is not a smart TV, but I'm watching hockey on ESPN Plus almost every night, which I wasn't doing until the football season ended. Didn't even think of it on a Tuesday to just go put on a Pens game or a Red Wing game. Like last night I was watching the Red Wings, and I watched a little bit of Miami, and then I watched Red Wings and Lightning. How about my Red Wings, by the way, beating Washington last night?
Big win. It's a big win.
No, NBC owns USA. That might be where they're going, Ryan. That's a good point.
That might make that their cable sports channel.
Well, it's in far greater distribution than their sports channel was.
Yes.
Rye 1313. If I buy one of those, do I just have to buy it once? Is there a monthly fee?
Don't the Gators host Kentucky tonight?
Yeah, the Gators do host Kentucky tonight. The Roku stick, it's like a Fire Stick. You just plug it into your HDMI cord, and then boom, you got a.
Gotcha.
Do we have Shelby?
Not yet.
Okay.
Call him now.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Shelby Mast, kind enough to join us. He is Mr. Bracket Wag, bracketwag.com. Follow him on Twitter at bracketwag, W-A-G. Shelby, David, and Mark, once again, how are you?
I'm doing good, gentlemen. How are you?
Well, we're doing fine. Listen, is there a scenario that you envision where Purdue, Houston, Bama, and Kansas are not the one seeds? Like, who has a legitimate shot if they win out to be a one, if not those four?
I think the two seeds are all in play. Texas, UCLA, Baylor, and Arizona. A lot would have to happen, but this year there is not a dominant team or teams that are secure in their seeding.
How high up can Miami seeding get? They had a great win last night on the road at Virginia Tech, where somehow they were an underdog. You have them as a 4 right now. How high could Miami get?
I think they could get to a 3. That's probably it. I moved them up to a 4 last night. That was a good win. Plus Xavier lost at home. Have some more scenarios like that where other teams above them lose multiple games and they can scoot on up.
You've got Kentucky right now somewhat safely in, probably got about 6 to 8 teams between them and the bubble. But if Florida beats them tonight, first off, how close do you think that gets Kentucky to the line? And secondly, how close does that get Florida to being seriously considered?
The game's in Florida, so if they lose, it's not a big hit to them. It doesn't hurt too bad on the road. If Florida were to win, it doesn't help them a whole lot because Kentucky isn't the Kentucky of old. They're just a bubble team this year, so it's not a big win. I could see maybe moving a couple of spots on the true seed line, but maybe Kentucky could maybe move up one line on the depending on how bad they beat them.
I know you always point this out on your site. This is not to try to win your office pool, but I'm just curious, how many teams do you think are Final Four worthy right now? Because as you mentioned, there's no dominant team. So do we have 16 teams you think that are viable for a Final Four spot this year? Is that a fair number, Shelby?
Given the right bracket, I think it could be as many as 20. There is, there's no dominant team, so everybody is more on an even plane than usual, and I think it's going to make for a great tournament, I hope.
Shelby, North Carolina's out, according to you right now. We agree for whatever that is worth, but I mean, how many chances do they legitimately have to get in? I mean, they're at Notre Dame tonight. That won't do them any good. I mean, what is Duke their only chance for a quad one win the rest of the way? I mean, can a team make the tournament without a quad one win?
I don't think so. Not with this new system that the NCAA has put in. It's their baby. And so I think that you really do have to get at least one quad one win to figure in. Now, they play Virginia. That would be a good one. You get Virginia and Duke, you got two. And if you remember last year, Carolina was about in the same spot with 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't until they won at Duke to bump them up into the bracket, and we saw what they did there.
Big Ten's got a couple of teams that are right on the bubble, with Wisconsin and being one of the last four in, Michigan, one of the next four out. What's Michigan have to do to get into the tournament?
Win games. That's it. They did enough damage early in the year, took some bad losses. They need some big wins. They've had a few, but it's not enough right now. I think if they would win, go 3-1 these last four, that might be enough, and then have a good show in the tournament.
Shelby Mast, the bracketologist for USA Today, and Gannett. Bracket Wag is his site, bracketwag.com. Follow him on Twitter at BracketWag, Bracket WAG. All right, we put the kiss of death on FAU last week because, A, we interviewed their coach on the show, and then we asked you about their seeding and what have you. They, of course, lost the game last week. You have them on the 9 line. Shelby, if they were to win out but lose their conference final, do you think they're in?
I do. I think they have done enough for the year that'll get them in. I don't know what their season will be, probably about right where I have them. But if they were to lose a couple more in the regular season, that could be dicey. Coming down to Selection Sunday, if they don't win the tournament, they're going to be very nervous Selection Sunday.
Is there a Big Ten team not named Purdue that can make a deep run in this tournament? The conference seems challenged offensively. Do you like Northwestern or Rutgers? Or is there someone you like not named Purdue in the Big Ten?
I like Indiana. Even though they lost last night, I like what they're doing. And Trace Jackson Davis, he's a fine player. He's really good. He's a big guy. He can play kind of all over the court, and he seems to have a very calm, cool demeanor. That's the kind of guy that I think could lead them far into the tournament.
Shelby, can you remember, like right now, you have 8 of the 10 Big 12 teams in. You have West Virginia as one of your final 4 in, and you have Texas Tech as one of your first 4 out. Has there ever been a conference that got 9 out of 10 teams in the tournament before?
No, I think the record was the Big East in 2009 or 2011. That's when the committee made all these rule changes because there were so many that we had 3 1 seeds that were from the Big East. That, I think, is the most by a conference, and most percentage-wise, probably last year, Big 10 or Big 12, sorry.
Do you think the Big 12 can get 2 Final Four teams in? The conference is so good, so deep. They've been beating one another up. Boy, we all think Kansas is really tough. I think Texas and Baylor are right there, too. I think this conference could get 2 in the Final Four. Do you think that's possible?
I think it is. I just wonder if they're going to have much left in the tank when it comes time to play in the Elite Eight.
I'm worried about the bottom of the conference, Shelby. Like, I mean, we all know it's the best conference in the country, but now, the West Virginia is suffering losses. Oklahoma State's really starting to get beat up. You've got the Cowboys on the 10 line, West Virginia on the 12 line, one of the last four in, and Texas Tech is still on the outside looking in. I'm worried that at the end of the day, Shelby, they may only get 7 because they literally beat up the bottom of the conference and keep them out.
Yeah, that's a real possibility. Can Oklahoma State and West Virginia just take on a little bit more water and be okay? I think the committee showed respect to the Big 12 by having 5 teams in the top 3 seeds. And so I think that could bode well for the bottom of the Big 12. But don't know. It depends on how they've got some games left to do things.
And finally, Shelby, the ACC is having like an internal debate as to just how good, bad, mediocre they are. When you look at the ACC this year, how do you grade them?
Not great. They've got a lot of teams that are good or pretty good, but nobody except Miami and Virginia that are really Final Four worthy. I think they're getting multiple teams in because the size of the conference is just so big. They're gonna, law of averages, they're gonna get a bunch in. But I don't see them faring well. I'll be surprised if anybody gets to the Elite Eight.
He's Shelby Mast. He's the Bracket Wag, bracketwag.com. Follow him on Twitter at bracketwag, W-A-G. Shelby, as always, thanks for making time for us. 5 he has right now in from the ACC. 5 with Carolina out. 9 from the Big 10, 8 from the Big 12 and SEC. Because he's got Mississippi State sneaking in. Miller and Moulton. Big one for the Gators tonight, hosting Kentucky.
Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You know, I really want the NBA to get going, and I want the Lakers to lose their first 4 games out of the break so we can quit talking about them.
If they can just stay no.
Oh, stop it. I mean, the Cowboys are sitting there going, do we really need to talk about the Lakers that much?
LeBron just needs to leave LA.
He re-upped. I was really surprised.
I know.
Of course, it doesn't mean anything. NBA players wake up the next day and say, I want out. He's never done that, though.
No, he hasn't. I mean, if you want to call the decision that, but he was a free agent.
No, he was a free agent. No, he was a free agent.
Right.
No. Signed a 4-year deal with the Heat, played all 4 years. Signed a 4-year deal with the Cavs, played all 4 years.
Well, the best they could do for him was Mo Williams.
I don't know if it was the best they could do. No one would go there to play with him either, the first run.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just blame the team because we all know now they're recruiting one another. And either he didn't want to or they didn't want to come play with him yet.
Well, he tried to get Amari Stoudemire
Right, and
for a little bit.
Well,
he
he
tried to get a
also
couple players and didn't get him.
he also tried to get Wade and Bosch to come to Cleveland.
And they laughed.
They said, no, you could join us in Miami.
Yeah. One sounds more appealing than the other.
But yeah, of course it does. But I'm just saying you can't blame Cleveland tried. Guys didn't want to come.
Hey, the Knicks haven't had any success really for 20 years getting guys to come play for them either.
It's true. Literally, Julius Randle. It's their and Brunson. Randle and Brunson have been their only big free agents in the last.
Yeah, and listen, they're both, one's an all-star, one was a borderline all-star. They're the best players, but they're not stars.
Right.
I mean, the Knicks can't get a star to play for them.
In New York City. I mean, think about that.
And everybody in the league loves the Garden, too. They all love playing there.
But I mean, obviously they all get paid in that league. Verlander just came to play with guys are going to play for the Mets. It's not just the Yankees. I know Cohen's throwing money around. I get it. But I mean, guys go play for the Rangers. Guy goes,
right.
Come back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Before we get to good, bad, and ugly, what's on tap, today was the day when, all that stuff. Something happened yesterday, which in years past we would have done at least half a segment, if not a short segment on. The AAC released their football schedule. Well, there's no UCF in the league anymore. And South Florida has been down now for quite a while. Plus also, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston leave the conference. North Texas, UTSA, Rice, Charlotte, FAU, UAB. That's what's filling out the league now. That's a big drop-off, isn't it?
That's a huge drop-off.
When UCF and Cincinnati and Houston were joining the AAC, didn't we look at them as like at least AAA programs? And now, obviously, they've all played their way up to the majors. I mean, Houston, had a Heisman Trophy winner. Cincinnati made the playoff. UCF had, back-to-back undefeated regular seasons. They're all major league now. You can, say they're the Royals or the Marlins or what have you, but they're in the majors. They're in the show. North Texas, UTSA, Rice, FAU, Charlotte, UAB.
David, it's like the AAC got relegated. You went Major League Baseball to your comparison. When you say that to me, and I know it's the opposite of how they do it, but it's like, wow, did a whole league just get relegated down a step?
And if I stick with my baseball analogy, doesn't that right now, the hope obviously is for the league, but by the end of this decade, first off, South Florida returns to prominence and what have you, and they've played their way up like UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, and others have over time. But doesn't that feel very AA?
100%.
For what it's worth, FAU, week 3 at Clemson, week 4 at Illinois, no FIU on the schedule anymore. I'm sorry, you got to figure that out. It's who your fans want to play. Figure it out. And also Thanksgiving weekend at Rice. So that big rivalry weekend. FAU's at Rice. Meanwhile, South Florida, listen, you want to buy season tickets, Alabama's coming to town.
Week 3, right?
Yep, week 3. I think it's the week after Bama plays Texas. And before that, South Florida is going to play FAMU, and midway through the season, they're hosting FAU. So, it might not be a bad little season ticket package to get your hands on. And for what it's worth, though, Mark, instead of Thanksgiving weekend, the I-4 war.
Right.
No, that's not on the schedule anymore. Instead, they're hosting Charlotte. Yeah.
Playing for the I-95 trophy. Even though I-95 goes nowhere near Tampa. I know. I probably should have given that an ounce more thought.
So, anyway, talk about a big drop, and both schools no longer, I'm sorry, do what you got to do. And I know UCF's not inclined, they want to, lower ourselves to playing South Florida anymore. Hey, come on, your fan base still wants to see it. Can't you do a 2-for-1?
Can't you do it in September? I know you want to see it rivalry weekend, and I understand that, but maybe that's just not possible with where they're going and what they're doing. Okay?
Right.
Play the game in September. Play it as one of your non-conference games. If Michigan and Notre Dame could play non-conference games for the better part of 3-4 generations, USF and UCF can play one another. They can get it done. It can happen.
We thought for the longest time that when scheduling was going to happen, that Florida's games with Florida State and Tennessee were going to have to be flip-flopped. That we just thought the conference was going to be like, yeah, you can't be playing a non-conference game that late in the year. We need this game to be that sexy that late. And we thought the Florida State game might get moved to like mid-September. That still never happened. We're shocked by it. And good for the rivalry, by the way. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, first off, if you're FAU and FIU, come on, you got to play each other. It's the only damn game your fans care about. All right. And if you're South Florida, you got to get UCF on the schedule. You can curse them the whole way. And yeah, right now, don't know what to tell you. They outrank you. If you got to do a 2-for-1, do it, man. Get them on the schedule.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
David, today in 1879, the first 5 and dime opened by Frank Woolworth in Utica, New York. Apparently it failed almost immediately, but he'd keep at it. 1888, John Reed, who is the father of American golf, first demonstrates golf on a Yonkers cow pasture to friends. They must have been riveted by that, huh?
Yonkers?
Thank you.
Wow. Wait, we playing hoop? No.
No.
What the heck are we doing?
I'm going to hit this ball with a stick.
What? I'm going to hit you
This
with
hard, this hard cow patio worked just as well. 1959, the inaugural Daytona 500. Lee Petty and Johnny Beauchamp crossed the finish line side by side. Beauchamp declared the unofficial winner, and in NASCAR's true way of doing things, the ruling was overturned after 3 days by Bill France Sr.
That literally,
that sentence describes 75 years of NASCAR.
No doubt about it. There are rules, and then there's what we say goes.
Today in 1962, Wilt Chamberlain sets an NBA record with 34 free throw attempts in Philadelphia's win over St. Louis. He would only make 19 of them, by the way.
Which is why, sorry, Mark, when he scored 100, he was 28 of 32 from the line, a career 51% free throw shooter. Normally, he would have made 17 of 32. That day, he made 28 of 32.
1970, the 12th Daytona 500, Pete Hamilton wins by just 3 car lengths over David Pearson. 1980, we've mentioned it a few times today, the Miracle on Ice. USA beating the USSR 4-3 at Lake Placid. Today in 1992, Barbra Streisand would surprise cast members and do her cameo appearance at the end of Coffee Talk on Saturday Night Live. Was phenomenal, by the way.
Well, that's like when McCartney and Lennon nearly popped in. They were watching Saturday Night Live, and
George Harrison was the musical guest, and
right.
that's when Lorne Michaels basically
said $1 million.
Right.
If you get them to come, I'll give you $1 million. And the two of them were watching it from like 5 blocks away, and apparently said, "Come on, what'd he say?" And then decided not to.
2015 at the 57th Daytona 500, Joey Logano wins for the second time. It was 4 years ago today that Robert Kraft got caught at a rub and tug.
Nothing happened. Nothing.
No.
Nope.
Nope.
Nothing.
Nope. Nope.
NFL justice, baby. It's like wrestling. It's like NASCAR. Don't worry. We'll take care of this.
And a year ago, the U.S. women's soccer players settled their lawsuit with the U.S. Soccer Federation for $24 million in a promise to equalize pay. Big list of birthdays today. First, those that are no longer with us. Right at the top, let's start with George Washington. Charlie Finley. Don Pardo. Speaking of Saturday Night Live and every other show that he voiced for. Hockey players Sid Abel, Ted Kennedy, Sparky Anderson, and Steve Irwin all born today. Those celebrating birthdays today. Dr. J is 73. Vijay Singh is 60. Pat LaFontaine is 58. Mark Chimura is 54. Michael Chang is 51. And Drew Barrymore is 48. What did I miss, David?
9 years ago today, we arrested El Chapo. That's it. That's all I got.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Huh. Wow.
Want me to go through college hoops tonight? Okay. Only got one game involving great teams.
I've got one thing to do. All right. The good rescued an alligator in Brooklyn Park. Why an alligator was in Brooklyn is beyond me, but they rescued it.
Well, listen, if they could play, golf in Yonkers, there could be an alligator in Brooklyn.
Nothing. I'm not going to lie. I've done the whole show without paying any attention to the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, I'll give you the bad. Tonight's sports lineup. There's no NBA for another night. There's only 3 NHL games. Once again, anybody involved in the NHL paying attention to the sports world? All right. NBA's off. You might want to schedule a bunch of games while the NBA's off. No football, no baseball. It's just an idea. Crazy one at that. 3 games, none of them any good. College hoops tonight. Now, it's a big night. A lot of games being played. FGCU needs to win, thank you very much. At home against Lipscomb. They're tied for the last playoff spot, tied for 10th. They got 2 home games left.
We thought for sure they'd be able to get a split with Stetson. They didn't do so. They lost both. So now they're in need. They have Austin Peay at the end, but they can't guarantee just to get to that game. They need to probably win one more.
Yes, and Jacksonville's home for their last 2, and that's who FGCU is tied with. Now, the Eagles own the tiebreaker. So obviously do the math. But FGCU home for Lipscomb. Lipscomb's ahead of them in the standings. Also, Lipscomb is actually a school that FGCU has historically struggled with. The Sweet 16 year, Lipscomb swept FGCU. Entering the ASUN tournament that year, believe me, FGCU was like, we're not going to play Lipscomb, are we? And they got taken out in the first round. It was like, whoo. For whatever reason, didn't match up well with them. It was their only home loss of the year. They beat Mercer that year. They beat Miami that year. Lost to Lipscomb. But Gators hosting Kentucky.
Must win for the Gators.
Yeah, it really is. Game of the night, it's the Mark Miller special, 6:30 FS1, Providence at UConn.
Love it.
However, aren't you curious how the South Carolina fans are going to greet Alabama tonight, 9 o'clock on ESPN2, after the story that broke yesterday about the star player was the one that delivered the gun to the kid, okay, who then handed it to his buddy and shot and killed that woman? How do you think the South Carolina fan base is going to greet Nate Oates and the Alabama team tonight? I have a feeling some of the chants are going to be a little inappropriate.
I think you can bet on that. I think it's going to be a tough night for Alabama basketball on the road.
And they're a 17.5-point favorite. South Carolina is not good. They could lose 20 games this year.
And Alabama has no problem beating teams by 50 or 60, too. I mean, they played Georgia over the weekend and doubled them up almost. They won by like 50.
So just
how well can Alabama, keep this in-house and try to play basketball tonight, because this is obviously a much bigger story than basketball, and their program is taking a lot of heat right now and will continue to do so for the next couple of days.
And you Canes fans, you need to root for BC tonight. They're hosting Virginia. These are the type of games, BC right around 500, Virginia tied for first with the Canes in the ACC. But when the ranked teams oftentimes go on the road and play the unranked teams, they get beat. That's why the Canes are so impressive. They avoided that last night. Can Virginia avoid the upset tonight at BC? Miami hoping not.
There's what's on tap. I promise tomorrow I'll do better with the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I can't possibly do worse than I did today. I had that whole commercial, every commercial break of the show. I was here at 5:15 this morning and literally looked up at my screen and went, oh, man.
Ah, come on. You had George Washington's birthday. I mean, it all starts with him, right?
It sure does.
I mean, I know it started technically Columbus, the Indians, but, I don't know. You read the history books, it kind of sort of started with him. So you had that and the Miracle on Ice. What the hell else you need?
A pretty good day, isn't it? It's a pretty good day. Washington and the Miracle on Ice. That's as good as we can do. Great show today. If you missed any of it, go to floridasportsnetwork.com to download any part of the show that you may have missed. Pat Kirwan was a guest today, as well as Shelby, Mast, Bracketology, Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow. The good, the bad, and the ugly included. Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist